Okay, Mike Zabel, and I run a really informal meeting.
Oh, you're fine.
Any procedural thoughts prior to starting one of these meetings? Okay.
Follow Robert's rules.
Yeah.
Well, then I'd like to just get right to,
Wait a minute, do you mind if I ask, are these meetings always gonna start at 3 p.m.?
that's something we can discuss because we'll be
All right.
electing a new chair, vice chair, and secretary
Okay.
today. Because obviously you're all very busy and just want to make sure it's accommodating to everybody's schedules. But anyway, calling to order, start with a roll call.
Let's start me.
Yeah.
Mark Beam.
Dick Gaddis?
Glenn Gunn.
Robin Aki.
Jody Shirley.
Joe Manzo.
Mike Zabel, just received an email, Mr. Suffer will not be.
He's
here.
just, Mr.
Oh,
Zabel.
just walked in?
Just coming in.
Then that's
Yeah.
done then.
This is to change his mind.
Yep,
No, there's a seat reserved for you.
hello.
Oh, Stan. He didn't stand.
Somebody sit in.
Mr. Zabel,
Yes.
and I just need for the record to say that Mr. Serafian is not here.
Mr.
Thank you.
Sarafian is not here. Okay, first order of business really is to nominate and elect the following officers, a chair, a vice chair, and secretary. Are there any nominations from the floor? Anyone?
I can nominate you.
I nominate Jody Shirley.
For what?
I second.
I'm gonna have to decline that nomination, but thank you so much.
I'll nominate her for vice chair.
I'll nominate Stan Sofer for chair. You thought you weren't gonna work.
I thought that would be done before I got back.
Let's try coming in late.
Yeah, I actually second his nomination.
I'll nominate Dave Gaddis,
For.
chair.
I'd rather.
Oh, man. Take a walk on the wild side, come on.
Okay. Any other nominations for chair, vice chair, or secretary? Okay,
Do we have anything on the table? So we have Stan and yourself for chair, is that? what I'm-
actually, second his nomination,
Okay.
and you're nominated for vice.
Okay,
I'll second
okay, so secretary.
Okay, secretary, any nominations for secretary?
You do have to have a secretary because even though I do the minutes, the reports from the committee have to be compiled by the secretary to present to council, and that's not something I can do. Not within my scope of capabilities.
Patty, does it have to be a non-council person? Because we're not presenting
It
reports to
didn't
ourselves?
say that, yeah, so. I
Probably
don't
better
know.
if it would.
I
Pardon?
think so,
It
too.
would be better if it was.
I'll nominate the captain here. This way it keeps it outside of council.
Right.
And I'm pretty good typing, so. And I have my own computer, I can type things. Okay, any more nominations? Okay, would like to proceed with the vote. Okay, for chair, Mr. Sofer.
Joe Vance, okay.
Can I vote no?
And an offense. And if nominated, I will not serve.
You got elected anyway.
I figure if you're chair.
Thank you,
then
President
no.
Johnson.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, but, okay.
Okay. Despite his best efforts, he's elected. Okay.
10 minutes later.
And show of hands for the vice chair, Ms. Shirley.
That would be
You
you
gotta
guys
vote
next.
yourself.
I didn't vote for
It
myself.
doesn't matter, we got 4 votes.
And finally, for the position of secretary, Mr. Zabel. Sure. I'll roll with that. Okay, motion carried. I'd like to turn over the gavel To Mr. Sofer.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'll get back.
I'd like to say a few words. No, sorry. Where's my plaque?
You were in just wanting to go straight.
Yeah, exactly. Carry me off the ship. I'll move my cart. And I haven't touched my water yet, so you're good to go.
Okay. And we'll move over there, take my name tag.
And your
Okay, I'll-
neti pot delightful going away presents. I mean, they do work, just kind of weird.
Unopened. Brand
No,
new
they're,
rabbits.
yeah.
In the words of Buster, what am I doing here?
Welcome back.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity and the honor of being chairman. This is a very important committee, the charter review. You know, it really controls everything that the city does, how it does it, and how it's going to be accomplished. I think the people that did the last charter review did a fairly good job with it. You know, in reading through what's there, most of it is very good. I have some suggestions, and I'm sure each and every one of you have some suggestions as well. I think some of it is good, but needs to be defined. I really don't know where to start with this, other than open it up to the committee as to what you guys see. We can go around the room. And again, with the council here, I'm confused as the council is acting as a member of this committee, just like the non-council members, non-elected individuals, correct?
Correct.
So everybody has a single vote, everybody's part of it. So that gives us a total committee of, how many? We've got 1, 4, 8, 7,
Mm-hmm.
We should have 8%.
Sorry, yeah.
7. Yes, 8. So 8 people.
All nine
So-
total, but.
So does that make our quorum 5?
5.
And what is our time limit, Patty? What do we have to accomplish and when do we have to accomplish it?
Mayor Manzo has a deadline he's striving for, Mayor.
Well, yeah, it's actually not my deadline. I spoke to the Commissioner of Elections. Get my note, so I can give you the exact date. So we have 3 elections this year. Our first election is, well, 2 of them were conducted, actually 3 of them are all presidential related. The first one has passed already, that's March 17th. We would have had to have the final, when I say final proposed changes in English and Spanish already finished with legal review. That would have been done January 3rd, so we missed that one. The next one is the, so that would have been for the first presidential, that's for, Florida's one of the first ones to pick presidential. Then we have the regular primaries, that's for the state positions that are going to be up. That one would be, that's going to be held August 18th, and June 19th is the operative deadline for that. We won't make that either. So the one that we're shooting for is the presidential election, which is November 3rd, and the deadline is August 11th. So that means that the work of this committee needs to go to council, then council will decide, I guess, finally what's going out to the electorate. With that, our city attorney has to draft the language. It has to, I believe, go up to the election commission, come back, so there's a back and forth, and it needs to be done final before August 11th. If we miss those, we're not banned from putting something out, we just are gonna have to do it with our next election, which will be in March, when 3 of the council people are up for re-election.
Okay.
And then if we miss that one, we have one the next year, so, you know, or we can do a special election at any point in time.
When was
Can-
August the 18th election?
August, no, it's,
We can do
the
it.
presidential election's on November 3rd with an
Right.
August 11th deadline.
Okay, that's the
Okay.
deadline. What was the deadline of the prior one?
June 19th.
And why do you say we can't make that one?
I just don't think we're gonna have enough time to finish what we have to do, have it done by legal, up and back with.
Oh, and go through
Yeah,
council.
yeah, that whole thing,
Right.
council, citizen comments, you know, I think all.
Can we start backing this off? I mean, make that priority day, say, okay, here's our deadline here. It takes so-and-so for a legal review, so-and-so for this, kind of work our milestones backwards. And then once we got all, then we have all the milestones ready to go.
That's why I
That's
wanted to
good.
bring up, what is our time frame? And that's exactly what I'm looking at. What can we accomplish and when can we do it?
Damn
Nope.
glad we voted you in.
Yeah, we need to, when we did
Yeah.
the,
Code review.
code review, we broke it into sections and how, everyone had homework, go through these sections, we'd meet collectively, make decisions, talk about what we reviewed and then make decisions of what needed addressed and changed and that sort of thing. So I would think someone needs to draft kind of a schedule of how to review the charter.
Remember how long that ran?
Or months, I
Several
think.
months, yeah, it was all
I
through
wanna
the
say
summer.
3. Was it
3 or
3?
4 months, yeah.
Well, I mean, the code itself is probably 3 times as thick as this, right? So realistically, we
This
should
is
be able to get
code.
through this in a month, if
Yeah, I think
if we
so.
work at it.
I
I
think
mean,
some of the,
can I bring something up here? What if we just took it, we've all read this, I'm sure. So just take a section at a time, every time we're here, and go as far as we can within whatever time frame that we choose. I don't think that's hard. I mean, we understand it, we've read it. We all have our ideas what we want changed. I went through it, marked up some things. Either they're gonna be pertinent or not pertinent. So if we agree on a change, fine, and then just move on to the next one.
An alternative to that is everybody just builds their own individual list, collect them all, come up with consolidate them all into one list. And then, once we have that list, we can go through and debate each one and then we can decide. and-
Or I take the markup of say the Word document, I type in the changes, do not attribute them to anybody, so they're just a cold change, in red. And then that's when we go through the document going, okay, yeah, no, doing the edit.
there's a lot of this that's never gonna change, like the meets and
Yeah,
bounds.
some of it's
There's
just-
a lot of blow through sections like that, because you're not
It's template.
changing it.
Absolutely.
But other things like, and I'll give you an example, this just happens to be on my radar, how many people should we have on this council? We could talk about that for a couple of days,
Yeah.
that one might be
And that's the highlight
a
of the
long
night.
discussion.
It's on my list as well.
Yeah, so but I think a lot of this, and I will tell you one other thing, because I've had some conversations with Fred on this. His recommendation is that we not have more than 3 changes that go to the electorate. There was no limit to how many we could have, but it can get crazy too, you start, and they do charge, it's like a newspaper, they charge by how much space you take up on that ballot. I remember coming in here in March with a guide, because there was so much stuff on the ballot, so, we could have, if we change 20 things on this, we're gonna have a ballot that's gonna be 10 pages long.
But can I clarify something? If we have more than 3 and we decide we still want
We're going to
4
4.
or 5, and maybe we don't go to 4, but we put it on the next election.
There may
That's-
only be
Yes.
2 that
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
us
Priority,
agree on.
and then-
There could be
Yeah.
8, we don't know. So until
But
we
we
all
can
get into the meat of it,
Mhm.
but your point is well taken. There's a cost as we go down the line for each one that we add. The confusion to the electorate is another one, because we don't want the people in the community to say, those people are crazy. Well, they might say it to me, but not to anybody else.
Well, we think that already.
Well, I think the simplest thing would just be go by each article. Start with Article 1. Anybody have any changes you want to make? Yes, no. Go to Article 2. Anybody have any changes you want to make? And just keep going. Some of these, like Joe said, will just be like, can't change that. So
Well, we first established we have a guideline, and that's the one thing. I don't know if we have to have a vote on it, I don't think so. It seems to me that Joe is accurate. The best we can shoot for is November 3, knowing how people come forth, they want meetings or get-togethers, or we may want another meeting. It's comfortable to say August the 11th, we will have the final draft of what we want to change or not change in our charter. Do we need to make that as a motion?
August 11th is when it's due onto the election.
Correct.
So I'm gonna say maybe you wanna use June, like sometime in mid-June, and if we hit it earlier, that's fine, but that gives 2 months for them to.
So what were the
go through that
major
process.
milestones there? We got legal, we got council, so what else was there? Legal?
Council and legal after we finish.
That's it?
Yeah.
No,
So
you
how
still
long-
have to go to the commission.
Yeah, that's part of legal. So council council conceivably, we're an advisory committee. We have the majority of council here, so if we're all on board with it, it'll probably pass, but it may not. I mean, you know, we may be divided.
So figure
if-
2 council sessions maybe.
Yeah, and if we have to, I can call them the special ones, we can wrap that up.
So there's
pretty
2 months
quickly.
for council, I'm just backing this up now, so 2 months for council, and how much time will legal need?
I'm gonna say 1 month for council, let's finish it in 1 month, and then, I don't know how long it'll take to do this, but.
So you're talking about April?
Depends on the changes.
Yeah, well, I'm saying somebody opposes
Maybe
it, or somebody steps up from public hearing or something, says no, so we have to go back.
May.
Well, that means, and I follow where you're going, this committee has to be completed by the end of March or middle of April at the latest.
Yeah, looking
I
at
think
it,
April's good, that's plenty of time,
agree.
in theory.
So pending no real issues by, what is our first meeting? Because it has to be voted on by council, so it's gonna be the first meeting of April.
Yeah, we could probably, would you wanna do it as a work session first? Or do we need to, or can we just go right to meeting? with the
No, what I'm
finalists?
saying, we should be finished with this before the meeting
Yes.
Yeah.
in
April
April.
6th.
So
So
that-
in April, the council can just rubber stamp what we've
April
already
6th.
decided.
Okay.
So what is the date of April?
April
April
6th.
6th, Monday.
The first Monday.
And that would leave, like Glenn was saying, if somebody comes forward from the city and goes, what the hell are you guys thinking here? That gives us a chance, I mean, we can call as many special council meetings as we want during the month, so we still can have it done in April, and like, this way we're giving it to Fred and say, here, draft away, you've got May, June, and July, I mean, that is 3 months to draft this stuff, that is a lot of time.
Yeah.
If we have to make a change in between, there would be able to, you know, with this guidance, of course.
And I don't know, you know, when I spoke to them, I don't know how much they're gonna get from other cities and stuff. I mean, this is a presidential election, so I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's gonna be on that ballot. So it wouldn't hurt to be there earlier. If the earlier we can get it to.
Oh, no, we'll
Nell's
strive
county.
to finish
Yeah.
early. The question is, what's the latest? And we always know that some glitch happens at some point in time. Okay, so far we're looking good.
So I've got a procedural question for you, and that is, how will the decisions be made? Are they by a majority vote or a consensus, where everybody can live with it, and if you can't live with it, it's your responsibility to offer up something else? And so is it a majority vote, or is it a consensus, we can live with that, and that's what we think is best?
Let's do a consensus. I mean, we all need to discuss this stuff. I mean.
I'm just asking, I just,
Well, your point is good in that, do we just want to all agree on it, or we're going to vote on it? And if we've got 8 people, 5 will make the decision. Do you want to do it that way, or do we need a greater majority of it?
no, I don't think.
It's the decision of the committee.
Okay, so what I'm kind of hearing, and I kind of agree, is just go with a consensus, if everybody can live with it.
I concur.
That's what, okay.
I mean, we have our chance on council if there's something that you absolutely cannot live with, or you have a point that no one else wants to listen to, you can bring that point up. But I mean, if it gets out of council, then it goes to the voters. I mean, they're the ultimate arbiters of this thing.
But it's a convenience for us having so many council members on board. Kind of know what the decision is prior to going to
It's gonna
council.
streamline the.
It is.
I mean, if we pass a whole bunch of stuff and nothing makes it through council, we've just wasted this opportunity, so.
Okay, getting back to my first
Okay.
question, if we want to have this completed for the meeting of April the 6th, do we need to vote on that? Or do we go to exactly as Glenn's said, do we want to have a consensus of it?
I believe the consensus,
I think that's a consensus, April 6th.
because your idea is, in fact, just walking through the document, you're almost kind of consensusing all the way down through. So by the time you finally do get to the end, it's gonna be about 90%, you know, everybody's had their good
Well, we're
shot
going to
at it.
breeze through some of these, and some of them, we're going to hit a brick wall.
Yeah, some of it's
Sure.
boilerplate.
We may, but we'll find out when we get there.
I have a suggestion. At the very end, all of the changes are gonna be presented in one document. You know, we can assume that we're writing it down correctly, but someone's gonna be the keeper of the document. So at the very end, it should be presented to us, give us the opportunity to read through it one last time, and then that final review is maybe we should take a vote instead of a consensus. And
I
that way.
think that way we're all on record as to
we
what we
were all on
see.
record.
Sure.
I totally support that.
And that document, obviously, the changes will be in red, so at least you're saying, okay, here's all the things that went through.
Consensus to the end and then vote.
Okay.
Dave, if I could add one other thing to that, and it goes to what Jody just said, because I really like this idea. We don't have to pass everything for this presidential thing, so maybe we can prioritize what our recommendations are in terms of the most important. Because theoretically, we've got 3 elections coming up. We've got November, we've got March of next year, 2021, and March of 2022. So we can put 3 things on the ballot without ever doing a special election, won't cost us anything extra. And so if we have minor things that we want to change, that have to be changed, but they're just, we don't want to burden people, why not just say, okay, look, this has to go on, but it doesn't have to go on for this election?
If we stagger it over 3 elections though, doesn't that kind of gray the 10-year review where there's a hard line?
What's funny is it says 10-year review, but it doesn't say when we're supposed to deliver anything by. That's the way I read it, but, you know.
And we could change that in there too, or we could change it.
A rolling
A
review.
rolling review as the needs of the city.
Yeah. Or
Because
maybe
it also
go
gives
5-year
the
review.
ability to review it
That's
prior
a nice
to the
sketch.
10-year mandatory.
Right. You could roll that in there.
That's a good thought.
10's a
Get in
long
there.
time. I mean, they do the state constitution in 10, but this is a little city. I mean, we should be able to, you can bring a change to this, but you have to do it via the citizens. This gives us the opportunity to do it every 5 years or something, so. I don't
Be
know
more
if the other cities-
responsive, as they say.
I
Let's
think
get
that would be
started.
good because there's.
We're still backing up.
We're
the-
dilly-dallying, I hate dilly-dallying, let's go, get to it.
Well, I mean, the purpose of today is what, to organize?
Yeah.
Organize, strictly
Because I
organization.
have a-
So we have the, April 6th is, council
Wants to
meeting
cut
votes.
through this thing. He's
So
got
back it
this
up a
going
month,
on.
so the 9th, we vote on the final.
Say that again?
Well, if we have to, the council's gonna vote on the 6th, on the completed
That's-
format.
Assuming all of us, or we have a
Right.
vote that is in the majority of what we present.
Which I'm backing
Ready.
it up a little bit more for that vote, so.
No, you're absolutely
Yeah,
correct.
so looking at, say, March 9th, that's the month, the month prior to that we do the final vote
We should
ourselves.
be done by March 9th.
We're late, Mark.
So you wanna back that up, say, into,
Because if it's not done by March 9th, we'll call a special meeting.
so,
You can pick it whenever you want in March, so I mean, if you wanted to have one
Yeah.
March
That'll give us
30th,
time.
you could do it March 30th
All
too.
right, so far we've accomplished a date of when we have to have this done. We're
Right.
gonna do a consensus, final vote at the end of it, that everybody agrees or disagrees with it. At least that way everybody will be on record. So those are 2 major accomplishments. After that, guys, we're ready to start.
What's
so the final vote date, though.
what's our final vote date for this committee?
Well,
Sometime in March.
what the captain said, by March 9th, if we have to get it by the committee date, we have to have everything ready for that day.
Okay, that's-
Completed, documented, agreed to, argued over. So March the 9th is really our critical date. April 6th hopefully is nothing more than a rubber stamp
Right.
of what's already previously done.
All right.
Any objections to that?
No.
Nope.
The only other thing that I'd like to know before we get started is can we establish some dates and times for these meetings? I'd like a permanent
It
schedule.
would help me to,
Yeah.
So that I
I
can
can't
go
do
ahead
3.
and plan for
Today
it.
was a fluke,
And
I got
add
out.
that, I think we're gonna need more than 1 meeting a month when you start. You know, we're,
Yeah.
there's some, so I don't have an objection to.
I'm good with a couple.
I mean, this is a once in a 10-year thing, so.
I just want to get it done and
are any particular days bad for anyone? I mean, Tuesdays and Thursdays for me normally is pretty good.
That's fine for me.
I'm good with Thursdays also.
How's everybody else with that?
the schedule varies, I'll be here, but as long as I'm around, I'll be here.
So Thursday's a good day. Afternoon, I assume, is better.
Yes.
This time, 3
Later.
o'clock.
Later,
3 or later.
3 or 4, or what?
5.
Dave, you got?
5, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys are working out.
After 5. is-
I'm driving from Trinity, so
I'm working
maybe a
out.
few minutes late.
So Thursday, 5?
I mean, you got Doc and Jody
Can you
and.
say 5:30? Is that too
5:30
late
is-
for
is-
everyone?
5:30
No,
works
it's
for me.
fine.
Okay.
5:30.
What's that? Work?
So it's on a weekly basis?
We haven't gone weekly right now. We're talking at least 2 times a month.
Okay.
Okay, the one member that's not here is not available till 6.
We could vary it too, we could have some at 5, some at 6, I mean, but 6.
Yeah.
But we have to work with the majority of people.
Right.
Patty, how are you at 5:30 on a Thursday?
Good, except for the 19th, which is the work session, council work session. February 19th, other than that.
Isn't that a Wednesday?
Is that Wednesday? Yeah,
That's a Wednesday.
I hate this Monday calendar. It's okay, get used to it. Yes, so good, everything's good.
All right, so what have we got?
I
So
got you
we've
back.
got, today's the 16th, we've got two
Correct.
Thursdays in January.
We got the, obviously 16th and the 30th. Or can I recommend, do 23rd and 30th to get a jump on it? Since tonight's an administrative meeting?
30th's gonna be.
That'll give us 2 work sessions.
Yeah, and then we go, okay.
Yeah, I hate to say it, I'm actually out of town on the 23rd.
Right, I'm in surgery on the 30th.
Okay, well, we
You
can
can
still
still
accept, yeah, we can
We could bounce back.
Come on, Father comes season.
suck it up. We got a
I'll
doctor
bring
here.
while you're
When you're
here.
gonna do the
Your
surgery, it'll be fine with this.
Comments. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
If
they're
you
really
miss-
comments.
How big is
if
that
you- They
hotel?
missed,
That'll
they can
work.
send you the
That'll work.
comments.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
I mean, that's the best part about it, I mean, I'll control the doc, we're not doing this email, so I can take your inputs, you know?
Okay.
And then I can, put them into the document and then provide them, and then they're routed back out again. You know, here's where we stand. In black are the boilerplate, whatever is standing, and then red, here's the requested changes or comments.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm good on the January 30th, you said you're in surgery.
No, on 30th, yeah.
I'm good on the 30th.
How's everybody else on the
I'm
30th?
fine.
Good?
Okay, so we've got
Good.
one meeting,
We're good.
I'll bring it to you.
Okay, sounds good.
23rd also, or just the 30th?
23rd and 30th.
23rd?
And we all care about it.
We're doing the 23rd and the 30th?
Yeah, just to kind of,
At
Be a good
5:30.
kick off the
Get our
gauge
wheels quick.
ourselves.
yeah, exactly.
Wait, you said the 23rd.
I'm out of
No, did we set it?
I
So-
thought we were doing both.
We're doing both 23rd and 30th.
23rd and 30th.
I can't make the 23rd.
Oh, you can't either.
No,
On the vice chair?
I'm fine with the 23rd, but do you, Stan, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't.
What would be wrong with a weekend, that's Patty, but I mean, if we had to.
At night, I'm fine.
No.
Yeah,
Can we-
okay, yeah.
Stan,
I
are
mean, you
you
guys are
out of
busy as
town
well.
completely on the
Is
20th?
it
I mean, are you
BYOB?
out of town that week,
Just
or is it
I
just
can probably, I might be a little late for 5:30, but I can make the 23rd.
I thought we moved over to, okay,
Should
we're
we
still at
just do it
5:30.
6 on the 23rd?
Okay.
I can do it at 6.
Oh, 6 on the 23rd.
6 it is.
And 5:30 on the 30th?
Yep. And now we got, February. What, 13th and 27th, or?
That would be good for me.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Those are 5:30s.
At this point, yeah. Unless somebody else wants a time change, but I can make 5:30 on both those, or 6.
What was it, February?
13th,
13th and 27th, and again, they're on Thursday.
I think
So we get an off week and then back at it, that works.
Yeah, and that stays away from 3 days.
And that moves us right into March the 9th,
Yeah, which is kinda cool.
Yeah.
which would give us one more if we had to.
One more shot at it.
Another meeting in March.
We could do the 5th of March if we had to.
Okay.
So that would be optional,
We'll do an optional on the 5th.
Well, you
yes.
could also do later in March too, if we have to, because we could always do a special council meeting to just deal with this, so.
Well,
That'll give you 6 meetings.
optimally,
But we're trying to meet, yeah,
Yeah.
we're trying to
Give
put
you as
everything in
much.
its proper order. Obviously, if any glitches come up, we can do special meetings.
What's the date?
This would be perfect, but it gives us
Fifth.
right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings.
Mhm.
I would think we could accomplish what, because what we're gonna have is either everybody's gonna agree to it, or somebody's gonna dig their feet in the sand and said, I don't care what you say, I'm not moving. And that can happen.
yeah.
But then it could be voted over anyway, I mean, if somebody.
Of course.
makes a
What I'm
Exactly.
saying is, I think we can work through it, we have enough meetings.
And one other key thing is if you have thoughts already, or if I could pick up an annotated, you got a copy of this annotated? I could have if I can I get the Word document on this? Okay, then I can get an annotated copy in front of everybody prior to the next set of meetings, I mean, maybe sometime early next week. That way, when we come in, we're going, okay, everybody's got their entries, now we can walk through as the
Well,
doctor
for each of
said.
us to put our entries into the annotate.
Yeah, I take everybody's entries, and then we do it.
The
And
only
it still gives
question-
us the ability to
My
review
only
do that.
concern is sunshine law.
Gotta run them through
Say that,
Patty.
it has to all go through Patty.
Now, who does the
And
input?
she can't release anything without a committee meeting, because if it gets released, then you're violating your sunshine law.
Okay, how do we work?
It's gotta be in front of the committee.
So everyone would have to review it, sitting here at the committee table.
But it would be helpful if you could get a Word copy of this, because right now
Yeah.
I've got mine like scribbled in my writing that
Even,
I can't even read.
but I'll agree with you
Yeah.
on one thing, even if you had the annotated one, and you
Right.
had Stan Sofer, has suggestions on this. And if we go through it and nobody has any suggestions on the other ones, we will be able to skip over those. So you don't have to actually say what you wanna say, just that you have a question on it, or
Yeah.
that you have input to it.
Discussion.
So procedural wise, you know, it's technical, is I keep the Word document, and then is it okay if I collect, people they wanna write up in here? Or how would I go about doing the
You
changes?
can't, no,
Okay.
it's gotta, whatever suggestions, in other words, if I say A,
Right.
and everybody else knows A in the meeting, that's fine. If they find out A outside the meeting, we're in violation of the sunshine law. In many cases, 90% of the quote violations just pass over. Every once in a while, somebody gets a burr on their saddle, and they'll come after you.
So we put it really through in the minutes, we saying, okay, paragraph C, you know, paragraph A through G have been, reviewed and approved. Paragraph H, suggestion was made to, here's the paragraph.
You know, stands over as an
Okay.
item on that. Marv may
Yeah.
have one under his, and he can note, so long as he doesn't state what he's doing. So like, I sent a memo to Patty for the committee that I'd be late, but I have suggestions.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine, because I didn't tell her what my suggestions were.
right.
Had I said, Patty, I want to do this, this, and this, and this, I'd have been in trouble.
Now the following meeting, I can take the meeting minutes, if we had that paragraph that's approved, put it into the
Absolutely,
working document.
absolutely.
Okay. I just
Once
need how
once
we're
it's
doing
gone through the
technically.
committee and everybody's part of it, you can put it, that's documented.
Yeah, because Captain and I mean, we're used to like, it's on, you know, everybody's got their comments turned on, and here it's like flood through the document. Okay,
Now, so then after the meeting, so if we have comments, then after, we share them in the meeting,
Mhm.
afterwards we can send the electronic to Patty and she can forward it, so you're not having to retype everything.
So long as we can document that whatever is said has consensus of the committee, it can be released. Voted on or consensus, it can be released. Without that, no.
Sure slows the process.
like it.
That's why government doesn't.
We're used to the Word document with track changes, I mean, we're done, yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay,
for example, if all future council members must have hair,
Is there any
you know?
states
You're out.
conflict with your?
that
Sorry,
was one
I
guy, we don't have to vote on that.
It's in my office.
All right, would you,
On the class.
would anybody wanna start some of this today?
I think so.
sure,
I mean, why waste the opportunity?
we're here.
We spent half an hour getting to this point.
Got
I
captured
just, I
on
have
it.
to leave just before 4, so when I have to leave,
Not
I'll
lost
just
somebody.
leave, yeah.
Dan?
They let you be first?
Patty wants to say
Well, no, just, I honestly, I'm not prepared, I
Just-
thought we were just doing
Yeah.
that.
I
Say,
have
I'd
had a
rather put more
question.
of it on.
Sure.
That 3 people are attending advanced emo and we didn't know if any of these dates conflict with that.
oh,
Well, you definitely,
Does
that can
anybody
be
know the
sent to them,
date?
ask them if,
I
the-
think it was well into March.
It's in my office, but I can't remember exactly. No.
well, we need to publish these
Did you get
dates,
the
to make
first
sure
one?
everybody's on it.
Yeah, so we wanna make sure that doesn't conflict.
3 in here are on.
Yeah, I don't know.
But since the majority of
Do you want me to go
us.
check? I can
Yes,
go check.
Yeah,
those.
sure,
Okay.
absolutely, we'll take a break.
Mayor wants to know.
It's in,
Okay, so that's the flow.
But I love the idea of putting it on the computer, because even if I have it in my office, I can put what I want in the different sections also. Makes it much easier. So you put it in PDF?
Yeah,
It's almost easy to, it just, asterisk or note the areas that need to be discussed, because otherwise you're gonna, if you have 6 different opinions of how it should read, how are you gonna annotate it all in one document?
You know,
Yeah.
the big thing is too, we'll just put what we wanna change, and as far as the actual wording, it's gotta be, when the attorney goes over it. You know, maybe we'll put a little,
So we'll try to get as close as possible.
get it somewhat close, but he's gonna put the legal change on it.
One other thought is, and make sure this is all, you know, within sunshine laws, is instead of trying to, when you bring up a comment or say, you know, I'd like to insert the following paragraph, can that be written out prior to? And then I could take that document, since it's paper, and put it into the minutes?
Yes.
Okay,
So long
I mean,
as-
for me, that's a lot easier than try, what did you say? You know,
No, I think that would be fine. You can write whatever you want. Once you present it, we agree to it, you know, and it has a consensus for it. Patty can put it into the document for
Yeah.
the next meeting.
And we have a working document.
You know, what
Okay.
consensus we have, makes it a lot easier to put in all the,
Okay, so.
And that would really be nice to,
Yeah.
as we go through them and check them off, you know, so, once we, how are we doing on?
April 24 and 25.
And I have a point, we, at some point, maybe now, maybe council does this, but we wanna give a copy of this charter to Fred for his legal review on it now, because like, as I'm not gonna review this legally about what has to change, but like I was reading one thing in here, if there was something about you can't hold office if you have a felony and stuff, well, the legislators.
Just change
changed
it.
that last year, saying you have your voting rights, so we might have to change stuff like that, there may be illegalities, so we might have to
I
get
don't
this.
think
to
that's
them.
unconstitutional, what you're talking about is voting, you didn't say a hold was elected office.
Right, I don't know, and that's what I don't know, so like, that's something Fred has to
That's
probably
where
look
I
at.
got
just so you know, I went over the entire charter with him,
Mhm.
so he's familiar with it.
He is, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just, I mean, just in case there's a legal
Definitely,
thing.
if anybody's gonna review what we do, he does.
Say why the bill was so high.
Overseas crimes, those don't count, right?
Blame me for that one. There's an hour in there or something.
Okay. All right, so you're saying there's no conflicts of the other dates? All right, so
No, we haven't been talking.
we've now set our timeframes
Mm-hmm.
to go forward. At this point, I would like to go ahead and consider starting and looking at what we have in the charter itself. Judy, you said you have to leave by 4.
Yeah, well, before 4, so, and I did not come prepared to discuss, so.
Okay.
So, because I just thought we were doing
In that
this.
case, there's no problem, I'll just start on my left, we can
Go
work
ahead.
around.
Yeah.
All right, I tell you, as far as section 102, 104, the first thing I really come up with is in section 201A, going down to the last few words, moral turpitude shall not be qualified to hold office, but I thought possibly we should include some city codes. If any person is violating city codes or ordinances, then they shouldn't. Is that good, or is moral turpitude, can you include, I mean, that's a legal question, but would that be anything to put in there, or just forget about it?
I don't know, I think violation of city code, sometimes one may not know about it too. It could be a time period thing where the city code is about to be approved and they built to that. Then
Are you jumping past 101, 102?
Yes, that's my first issue.
Well,
Let's do it section by section.
I think we need to start at the very first. If nobody has a problem, then we can go to the next one.
Okay.
Because believe it or not, section 101,
Yeah.
I have a problem.
okay, why don't we just work that?
That's why I
Go.
was saying, I think the
Okay.
Sounds
sections
good.
are better.
So charter's okay, Article 1, the paragraph there is okay. Now to section 1.01, corporate existence, form of government and charter.
Yeah, I have one small question on that one. But as a chairman, I don't think I'm supposed to bring it up until everybody else has an opportunity of saying something. That I don't know.
I don't have any questions on that one, anybody else?
Well, it's a major one to me.
No, well, you were just asking for anybody else here have a problem.
I'm gonna bring up the same thing. I think.
Go ahead.
We have to review whether council manager is the proper form of government for the city. There's multiple choices. This was changed 14 years ago. It might be working, it may not be working. There's council manager, there's council, manager, strong mayor, manager, weak mayor. There's a variety of things you could have here, and I think if we don't at least look at that and review it again.
Well, I'm looking at the same words, but not the same intent. My concern is changing the word manager to administrator for a very simple reason. I would not change anything right now the way we're running the city. I think Lynn is doing a good job, and I've seen previous ones that didn't. So comparing previous managers to what he's doing great. But what I'm looking for is the future. We don't need a manager, because a manager costs this much.
Yeah.
An administrator costs this much. We are a small city. We don't need to compete with Clearwater, St. Pete, or Tampa. An administrator, a good example, and I hate to use another city, but it's the only thing we can do. Bel Air Bluffs is the closest city in Pinellas County to our size. They have an administrator. Deborah does a wonderful job out there. But she does it as an administrator. They have a city clerk, just like we will have a city clerk. But we don't have to, if we look to the future, we keep the word manager, it's going to cost our city a lot more than it needs to. That's the only change I'm looking at in that section, is a word change, not a position change. I think you're looking at a deeper.
I'm not saying there has to be a change, I'm saying we should look at it, and it could be with administrator, but I think we have to, this city is, 75 years old, and for 50 plus years, it ran with a strong, by the way, I don't want to be a strong mayor, okay? I know there's this rumor floating around. You can make that effective for the next mayoral election, because I don't want it, I didn't run on that behalf, and I don't want to run the city. And something you said, and I'm not criticizing you, but I want to just make sure we're focused here. We said Lynn's doing a good job. Lynn's going to be 88 next time this thing comes up, or I'm sorry, 78, okay? So we're not talking about Lynn, we're not talking about Joe as mayor, we're not talking about any of us, because probably most of us won't be here.
Post Lynn.
Right, so I mean, what we're looking at is where are we going, what's the best way to go down the road? So it's not about any one person, and I do agree, I think he's doing a good job, but it's not about him doing a good job, it's about what's the best way to run the city right now.
Well, I have to make comment to that one. What I've seen before with a strong mayor, that mayor had a business to run, and mayor. There wasn't enough administration here within the city.
Right.
And I think the sewer system was not run properly. We had, the police department was not managed properly. The rest of the public works were not managed properly. Stan and I have seen it. From what I can see, we have to run it as a small business. The administration idea that he comes up with is good. I didn't think of that. But I would not want to change for that reason. I've seen it.
Glenn?
I think that the term manager articulates what's embodied in the charter, and that the manager is the chief executive guy who does all the tactical stuff, manages the staff, manages projects, contracts, and all of that. So far as what you pay that person, that's dictated by the hiring terms and the contract of employment. So yeah, you may have guys who answer the advertisement thinking that, hey, I'm applying for a city manager job and my fee is typically $150,000 a year. Well, that doesn't mean the city has to hire that person at $150,000 a year. The council decides who they're going to hire, ergo they decide how much they're going to pay.
Glenn, I was on the committee that hired the city manager when Silverboard came in. We went through dozens of applications all over the country. And let me tell you, you put the word manager there, they expect to be paid as a manager. Now, what you're saying is 100% correct. The council does make the final decision. But you're going to have a committee that's going to go out and look at all these people. And the word manager comes with a price. Word have meaning. They are going to be asking not only for the money, for the salary, they're going to be asking for terms, They're gonna be looking at a council that could be hostile, so they want a golden parachute. They want the cars, they want the houses, they want the transportation. It was amazing, the education that I got when we opened up that can of worms. So we finally selected an individual, and I was part of the decision, and that was one of the worst decisions I ever made for the city. I'll say that now.
Well, I sat very close to the last city manager hiring, and you, in some ways, you get what you pay for. We looked at it, they looked at a lot of people in the hiring committee, and there were some very, very qualified people. And if you look back through the past, they hired qualified people and they weren't willing to pay for it. So guess what? Yeah, they do go elsewhere, and sometimes you sub-optimize. Now, this city administrator thing, that person wasn't hired in as a city administrator. She had been there for a long time and kind of developed a rapport with the council and established a track record.
Who are we
And
talking about?
Deborah Sullivan.
Sullivan over at Bel Air Bluffs.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they changed her title because originally she wasn't a...
She was promoted to administrator.
Exactly, but they didn't have a city administrator job before, did they? She
No,
was
and they
city
didn't have a
clerk.
city manager either. What I'm trying to do is set the tone for the future, and that's what you're trying to do.
But I don't know who answers the bell when you hire for, when you advertise for a city
Hey,
administrator.
briefly, if I could, I just did a quick search on that, but there's an International City County Management Association, and they're saying the term's interchangeable. Quote, the council manager form of government combines the strong political leadership of elected officials with the strong managerial experience of an appointed manager or administrator. I mean, we changed the terms, but look, if you're not willing to work for X, you're not gonna work here, regardless of what you call yourself.
And I think it's interchangeable, and also in here, it has a list of duties, so if you're thinking you wanna make it smaller, then we gotta take the duties away from the manager and give them to someone else, but
Changing that.
I think same thing as saying boss, manager,
Yeah.
administrator, chief,
To,
it's all the same if you give them the power.
while he was researching that, I was on my Florida League of Cities emo training, and they have, Florida has the forms of government: council, weak mayor, council, strong mayor, commission, and council manager. And what it says under council manager is the most prevalent. Council hires professional administrator for implementation of policies. So I think we probably can put it underneath there, and I don't know if we have to change the charter for that, because I hear what you're saying, that, manager connotes a certain amount, but when we advertise it, we could advertise it as administrator, and maybe that's,
Manager, administrator, use both.
it's just that
I
council
would be-
manager is
I
a
would
legal
support
term,
that.
So we're trying to get by with as few changes as we can, but necessary changes. If you change manager to administrator, you've got to change it throughout this
Yeah,
entire
that's it.
charter. It's a big deal.
Document change.
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, recommend keeping that, but we need to put a placeholder in there for the mayor about if you wanted to take a look in terms of the example, sample.
I only say take a look because, actually, we were given this research, but I can't read this because I didn't bring my glasses, because I didn't think we were gonna do this, but up and down.
I heard.
Right here, I have a non-description right here.
Oh, look who's prepared for you.
But anyway, going up and down thanks. Going up and down the beach here, we have Reddington Beach with the council strong mayor, Bel Air Beach council manager, Bel Air Bluffs council weak mayor, Reddington Shores council weak mayor, Indian Shores council strong mayor, Madeira Beach, Indian Rocks Beach, Treasure Island, all council manager, and North Reddington Beach council weak mayor. So, I mean, the island is all over the place over here, so we're not, I know in Florida, the council manager is the most prevalent. We got that out of that,
I would
training.
not want to change to a strong mayor under any circumstance.
No.
I'm not advocating
The way
that.
that the laws are, as the cities grow, just in time alone, you need someone that knows what they're doing, who's been here, who has the experience and the knowledge of running a city. A mayor comes in, he's elected, no negative there, but you come in with ideas and whatever, and that's fine, you're selected by the people, but to run a city requires a lot of knowledge of running cities, and the manager, administrator will do that. I just feel that the term administrator connotes a smaller city. And as far as making the change, I think if you change it, as a PDF, you change manager to administrator, it goes throughout the entire thing, and you can so state in your charter change that we're changing from a mayor to a mayor/administrator title. That's my
I
suggestion.
think everybody, when you say city manager, it's a well-understood concept and term. If your concern is with who answers the hiring when you go on the street for a city manager, you control that by putting a price range or a salary range in there. You don't have to say, we want to hire an administrator and then let them figure out, well, what's an administrator make? You're more specific saying, we are looking for a person with city management experience and this is our salary range. And that's what
They self-select.
what we will offer will depend on your experience level and what you bring to the table, not,
Yeah, the problem that Stan speaks about, I was there also at that time, and the problem is he was very well qualified, but he was a manager. He wanted to manage and direct, not being a working manager as we have now. That's the difference.
Lynn is a working manager. This guy put his feet up on the desk and told everybody else what to do.
Yeah, he was a
But
manager.
you didn't see it when you hired him.
No.
He presented himself beautifully. He was very
Didn't he come
articulate.
from a neighboring city? Didn't
Pardon?
he come from a neighboring city?
No.
Okay, right.
He was from Fort Walton Beach.
But again, shouldn't that be made clear during the hiring process that this is what we're looking for?
Yeah,
Again, that's the
Sure.
first
terms of.
one that was hired here,
First one.
after the change of government. So I was really.
The mistake was not hiring his wife, because she was good.
Well, it's also, they serve at the pleasure of the council. I mean,
Right,
if you
so
observe
there
them,
you go.
Or
It's a
you
learning
build in a
experience.
probationary
Yeah.
period, and
Right.
at the end of 6 months, you
That's
have a
why they
review.
have that golden parachute, but you're right. But even again, what you're saying is correct and accurate. It's very hard, and we've got the council here. How easy is it to fire a city manager? It's not. And nobody wants to do it.
Okay.
Anyway, we don't want
But
to,
we do have consensus though to,
Leave it.
leave it, section 1.01 as is.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
With the idea that, I don't know that council administrator is a legal term, I've never seen that, but I'd love to know what Bel Air Shore has, or Bel Air Bluffs has. Did they call it council manager and just hire as administrator, or did they actually call
no,
it
they
administrator?
created the position of administrator
And that's
and
what's in the charter.
elevated her to that position with a substantial salary increase.
I think it's still open, I don't know if we're getting through that one. The rest
Okay.
of, the rest of number one, I don't think there's anything.
Yeah, city administrator
So we're leaving it as,
That's a question.
as
mark.
council manager.
Yes.
why do we have the word council manager? That I don't
That's the
understand.
form, that's the official.
Just
Oh,
Thank you.
That's the nomenclature
We're the
used
council,
by,
and he's the manager.
Okay,
He works for the council, but he's the executive, the council is the governing body.
okay, so
Have a good
consensus right now, section 1.01 stays the same?
Thank you.
Sure. So 1.02.
I have no qualms with 102. Anybody have any problems with 102?
No.
Let's see here, has that changed? Know of any changes?
I don't think there've been any legal changes.
No boundary changes.
No, that, we've not acquired any land and on our.
Wait a minute.
We've lost some.
There
Sand.
was a change because in '59, I don't think Belle Isle was here at that time. Belle Isle was added later,
59.
well, it was after '59.
I don't know when Belle Isle was at.
should we defer this to the city manager and ask
one-
him?
Yeah, because we gotta check up, where's it listed? Is it still book 801 or they changed that?
Planning and zoning has just been through all that stuff, so.
So basically, this is one we have to send to Lynn, verify section 102 is still as is, or needs to be adjusted for Belle Isle. But again, I don't think, Belle Isle was developed, it wasn't created, was it? They didn't dredge the sand to build it.
They
It was
did.
created.
That's why
They
they're shaped
created
so
it.
nicely.
Because I've got a map that's without Belle Isle there,
Oh, you have one of those?
a real old one.
This would have been picked up 10 years ago too. It should have been if they did it. You were on the committee, right?
No.
Oh, This would have been picked up 10 years ago. I mean, if it.
Well, we can check with Glenn.
Okay, when it goes to, section 102 goes to Lynn, yeah, I hear you.
That's a big assumption, yeah.
Okay, so we're deferring
102.
102 to Lynn.
Yeah, for review of correct pages, Bill Isle, other questions? Okay,
Bill Isle edition.
Addition.
Okay,
Section 1.03, general powers of the city.
I have no qualms with that. Anybody have a problem with that one?
No.
It's fine.
Wow, okay. So we're good with 103. 104, construction, the powers of the city shall distribute liberally. I have no problem with that one either.
That's more of a legal one. If there should be no changes on that unless that has to change, but.
Now we're on to Article 2.
Yes.
I think there's gonna be a lot of discussion on Article 2. Composition and eligibility of city council. Who wants to go first?
Well, I started it before, it just, the only thing I thought was if they violate city codes or ordinances, you know.
Yeah, but what happens if my grass is 3.5 inches instead of 3? I'm not gonna be able to run.
Or somebody dumps
Well,
trash
that's
on your
gonna
lawn the day
happen.
before.
You
No, I'm
know,
just- I'm
it's
just
possible
saying
they
you're gonna
can
have to
get a code
define-
violation.
Which code violation, how severe, how many, 3 strikes, you know, so I don't think it should be, I think it should be more like if you break the law and you're a
If that
felon, but
happens,
that
there's
got.
people that are going off this council because
Not
they
a
violated
misdemeanor.
the ordinances before they were elected, so, I know.
Well, I mean, does moral turpitude,
Yeah.
you're the attorney,
Yeah.
does that
I would,
I
cover
think
that?
that's,
I would keep it at the higher crimes and misdemeanors,
Yeah.
if you will, and not
Okay.
like, because, I mean, believe it or not, we have an ordinance that says you can't leave a bicycle in your front yard for more than 24 hours. My God, if I leave my bike and I, fall asleep for a day.
There-
At least you're riding.
Yeah.
You move it occasionally.
Yeah,
But
we're proud of you.
there was a violation years ago where there was an abuse of power.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to
But
run it by everybody and say, hey, you wanna,
I think it should, I like what you're saying, but it should be I think at crimes, not at, not.
well, it
and
wasn't
has to be
really a
conviction.
crime, it
Yeah.
was just, I'm gonna add on this to my home and too bad,
So you want to delete that last sentence of that section in its entirety so we comply with the Constitution of the state of Florida?
I think we have to ask Fred on that one.
No, I totally see that as being removed.
Yeah, I think it's probably gonna have to be removed for
All
legality.
right, which one is this?
Last sentence in its entirety.
Section A.
This is section A,
the one that has moral
2.01.
turpitude.
But before we even get to section
You
A,
skipped the preamble.
Yeah, we skipped it.
we
That's
skipped the big one,
yeah.
7 members.
Yeah, the members, yeah.
Anybody have a suggestion on how many members we should have?
It should be odd, first of all.
Yeah,
Yeah, 5.
I'm odd enough.
But it should be an odd number to break ties.
We have more members on Bel Air Beaches Council than they have in Clearwater. That's
Yeah,
correct.
but we don't pay hours, that's why.
I know, but quantity doesn't necessarily mean quality either. We don't need 7 members in a little tiny Glenn Dunn said it one time, we have condo associations that have more people on there or condos that have more than we have in our city. I think we need maybe 5 people on council and we should peel it back with 1 on each of the next elections. 7 is a lot of people on a council and then people complain that the meetings go too long, but you gotta go through 7 members and we have to get 7 members.
It's really
In the
not
past,
so-
you couldn't even get people to run, now it's nice, but in the past, we couldn't even, same people kept running over and over and over because you couldn't fill spots.
so how would that work?
You would
So-
peel one off on this next, I have thought about this, you peel one off on the next election, I actually spoke with a mayor who had a 6. At one point, I'm like, what do you do? It has to pass with a majority, so for that 1 year, you're gonna have a council of 6 people. So one would come off in 2021, and one would come off in 2022.
What happens if like next year 2 of the people, or 2 years, whatever, don't wanna run? Again, only 1 of the 3 that are up wanna run,
I
then
mean,
can we,
it's for a full election, it's not, I mean, because
I say, could we just automatically go to 5?
No, it
you'd
has
have to put it in your, charter.
Still has to be in the
It's gotta be
Yeah.
an alternate. Get rid of one initially, and then in 3 years, get rid of another one.
That's just a detail, the big thing right now is how many.
And that's the right question.
And I agree
is how
with the
many.
5 because I think that eliminates the past proclivity for people running in unopposed. And then all of a sudden, you've got opinions running the full gamut, and you're spending a lot of time on discussion. And I think 5 aligns with a lot of our neighboring municipalities, and it just makes a lot of sense. 5 would streamline the.
I'm trying to remember, Bel Air Bluffs only has 5.
I think most people are.
So we would just,
Most of them are 5. How many have 7? That's the real question.
I guess my
There are
question
2, I
is,
think.
in the charter, we just have to change it from 7 to 5, but we don't have to lay out in the charter
You do,
how
because
it.
There's
Yeah,
a
it
spot
does
later on where it
there's
talks
a
about the
spot.
elections,
Oh, okay.
so we're gonna have to
I
peel
got
that.
that
But
part.
I think the fair way is to peel it back. We have a balance right now, and it works really nicely. We had 3 new council members come in on Glenn's group, Jody and Dr. Pavaris and Marv. Well, actually, I guess you had 4, right?
4.
But you'll have 3 now, and then we'll have 3 council members plus mayor on the next group of elections. So it is nice and balanced right now. So if you could leave it 2 and mayor, that's nice. You know, you're instead of having, if you peel it all back right now, you're gonna have 1 council member in this next election, and then you'll have 3 on the following one. It just.
I still feel more comfortable remaining with 7 right now. I mean, it appears, if there's a block of people that run together, at least 7 gives you a little bit more of a wider grasp. I don't see any major lengthening of meetings.
There was a reason for 7 way back when. We had so few people that really wanted to be involved that you couldn't get enough people in a meeting. So if you had people that were not interested and you only had 5,
So you got 7, but at least 5 are showing up to the meeting.
You got it.
now you only have 5 council members. And if you get, right now you got a lot of interest. All of you guys are great. You're showing up, you're participating, you're doing things. It's wonderful. So you have a full council of 7 people, 6 and a mayor. But if you get a doldrum of some sort in this small city where you can't draw people, imagine 2 people not showing up.
And now you're down to 3.
I don't think that's valid. I think you bring more qualified people to the
It
job because
happens. It's not a
they
question
want to
of
be
valid.
there.
Yeah,
It happens.
it's the voters that are.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're saying you're having a run on apathy and people don't want to get involved, you're saying you want to put more people on? So
Because you have a bigger pool. You had at least, we were running on an average like 4 and 5 people at a meeting. And that was with 7.
Every other city is.
well,
running with 5,
and that's where you circle back, and we will get to it, is how many missed meetings do you go to before you get your
Well, I think times are
Walking.
changing. I think people are getting more
Yeah.
invested. Younger people are moving in that are gonna get more invested and want to be more involved and make change. And so I don't think it's gonna be a problem with getting people that are gonna want to be.
I don't have a dog in this hunt, so I'm listening to what you guys are saying. It doesn't make any difference to me whether it's 7, 5, or 10. It's a,
Can I throw one other idea out? If we're gonna keep 7, if we're gonna do 5, then it's 5 at large for the whole city. If we're gonna do 7, then we need to, another option is that you go by districts, okay?
that is.
Because right
And you
now,
know who
you
your guy is.
you can load the box, okay, with 5 people, 6 people from one area, one street, and all of a sudden, they're dictating what's going on for the whole community.
And this is
And
happening.
this would say,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
you're gonna have one person, let's say, one person represents, I'm just throwing out numbers, I didn't actually think this through all the way, but let's say 1st through 10th, or, first, or maybe 1st to the causeway here is one representative. The next representative is up there, the next representative is all the finger areas, all
One condo.
111, and then and then the rest are at large for the community. If you're gonna keep 7, maybe make sure it gets somewhat split up, whereby you can't get a group doing it, because that would be disastrous in a little city.
Well, I get what you're saying, but for example, this past election, the people that were interested and actually stepped forward to do it happened to all be in the same area. Me, you, Marsh, 3 of us were in the area, so what happens if one to the causeway, nobody?
Interested, what are you gonna do? You're
Right,
gonna open
then
sale.
you're, but, and I think that makes it more separated, where it's like, oh, you're on 1st through 7th, I'm on Donato,
Yeah,
you're
but-
on here, and
As one of those
like I
people-
said, when I was running, I didn't know there was this side of the bridge or that side, aren't we just one city?
Right, but as, I guess, one of the non-council people here, it does look like there was a group of people, friendship or whatever, decided we're all gonna run together and back each other up. And that, kind of looks bad too. I mean, I kind of like the idea about, you got the districts, and you also know, hey, that's my person. I know who to bring the stuff to.
You could-
And then the
you-
person on the council doesn't have to be responsible for the whole, I don't know what's going down 10th Street. I know my area, yeah.
You could do this. If you have a bunch of people out there that are all from, say, our island, which there are 4, divide it up and say, okay, at the first meeting, as you pick the vice mayor, you also pick straws, what area of the city
You
you
reverse
represent. Okay, you pick a straw. The people from that side of the city have to,
That's a good idea.
they can complain to you and say, hey, you're our representative for this area of the city. We've got these issues down here. We want you to bring them to council.
Because it does make it difficult, and then here's the difficulty being is now I'm being represented by somebody that doesn't really understand what I'm going through on a daily basis with my neighbor, yeah. And I can't fix that, that's,
And I'm not saying it's not working very well right now, I think everybody's pretty even, I think we're pretty even-handed, because I'm involved with all of this, and I see that everybody, I don't think that we're parochial about, even though a lot of people come from one area here, that's not the way it's working right now, okay? I think it did with undergrounding, but they also ran on that idea, saying we're gonna get this undergrounding project through. That's fine, they didn't ram undergrounding down everyone's throats, they just did their own blocks, and that, I was fine with that. But you could conceivably, and I'm gonna use undergrounding as an example, okay? If you have a group, we had a person who's running it, I'm not gonna use the person's name, thought undergrounding was something that the whole city wanted. Well, they don't want it where I live. See, I look at my neighbor's backyard, I look at Stan Sofer's house, okay? I don't give a damn if I have undergrounding, because the wires are up in the trees. You guys have the wires messing up your beautiful front of your house. We don't have that problem here. So we knew about that living in this area. And this is the kind of thing I think it may help to have somebody from your area who says, wait a minute, my residents don't want that. The people 1st through 9th don't want undergrounding, the people on the water want undergrounding, and it makes all the sense in the world. So if we're gonna have the bigger group, I'm throwing out the idea, I'm not saying it's not working right now, but if you're gonna do it, at least make some individual representatives so that we split up at least some of them, and then maybe 3 of them are at large for the whole city, and that could mean that one group, I mean, I can't help it if one group is
but it
interested.
makes your workload as a council
The
member.
flip
a little
side of
more
that
focused.
coin is, you've got some hard-working people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and get to work, okay? So, yeah, undergrounding was an issue up there. But I'll tell you, what's the big issue right now? Stormwater. And those people up there don't have flooding problems, but you got a lot of people down there who apparently bought houses that weren't fully disclosed, or they bought with those disclosures anyway. So, I mean, my interest is I want hardworking, intelligent people. I don't care where they come from. I think that's a great idea. When you're voted into a seat, yeah, you're assigned a district, and you get out there and learn what their issues are, and you kind of become the flag bearer for those people. But if you try to work it from the other way, where you say you've got a district and you've got to come up with a representative, well, there hasn't been a lot of participation from down there. So what are you going to do? End up with empty seats? That's going to be.
My suggestion is, I like the idea of moving it to 5, and then whoever from whatever area wants to run, and we can pick straws, if it comes down to that.
Let me add
5
one
would be
thing.
all at large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you did 5, one of the things that we used to do, and many of the other cities do it, where after you're elected, and after everybody sat in their seat, somebody's assigned fire, someone's assigned police, someone's assigned administration, and that particular council member gets to report to the council what's going on in their sphere of influence.
Functional areas.
And every year, they can change it. You don't do the same
Right.
person every year. And it's a wonderful opportunity. You get to learn your relationship with the sheriff, you get to learn the fire chief, you get to find out what's going on in the city itself. The staff likes to have a council person not look down at them, but sit at the same table and find out what they're doing. So that doesn't hurt, and it gives a good education. You can do it with 5, you can't do it with 7. So, are we getting to a point where there's a consensus for 5, or do we still have an objection?
We might wanna debate that a little bit more, but I
We
just
can.
want, we don't have to
I'm
decide
fine.
in one
Yeah.
day.
I'm good with 5.
I'd like to, yeah, look at it, I mean, I'm starting to lean toward the 5, like what we are working it out though, is now everybody has an individual portfolio.
And that way, it's, yes, you know, if I come from,
Cause we know who's gonna be the police person, okay, we're council, we know who's gonna handle storm drainage, we go talk to that person.
it gives the citizen someone to call other than the mayor.
The belly
Because
button.
right now, the only person the citizen calls is the mayor for everything.
Or we get a blanket emails and no one knows who is supposed to give the appropriate
You
response.
put that right in the phone number bank, any police things this, any sewer, call that.
Does that have to go in the charter?
No.
Well, I mean,
That's
what you're doing is,
administrative.
what you're suggesting is actually, I just looked at this up, it actually starts to go to a council commission type thing, which they're not using. So I've seen this in other cities where individuals have responsibilities. We might be able to just accomplish this through our ordinances without the charter.
I like
And say,
that.
here's the way we're gonna
And
structure
it goes
our
to legal
council.
review.
Yep.
Hey, look, here's what
We also have to be very careful, see, I like the city manager, okay? We gotta be careful that we're not taking over the city manager's job.
Right.
You
No, that's
shouldn't be
not-
calling
no,
me
no,
on the
no.
police.
If
That's
someone
not
comes
what
to
the
see
city manager-
stormwater, do you wanna talk to a surgeon about
I think it-
stormwater or the city manager? Like, I'd be like, that's a great idea, let's go talk to Lynn, cause I can't cut out the scalpel, so I
But
can
you become
fix
kind
it.
of the champion of that
I get
area,
it.
so like,
And nag
okay,
Lynn
so
to get it done.
Yeah,
you.
I am a council and I'm working, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fine, I'm just saying, but if you're coming to me for all those questions and answers about stormwater, I'm gonna be like,
We're coming to you, we're coming to you as the hammer or.
That's fine, I'll be like, hey,
City
Lynn, get on
manager can
this.
look, I need a little horsepower here, can you come scream at somebody for me?
Yes, okay, I can do that, but,
It also comes to something.
We have a very unique situation here. You have a city manager that is willing to talk to council and spend time with them. That was not the case
Before.
before. The reason Stan brings that up, we switched around. I had the police department at one point. There were 3 council members had meetings with the police chief that we had here every month before the meeting. Anything come up, any of his needs, then there was 3 of us there, a chair, a vice chair, and another council member, and then of course the public was invited. And the same thing with Public Works, and there was the same thing with Finance. But, you know, we've changed a lot. We don't have all those divisions anymore. So right now, the way we have it with a city manager that works with everybody, and we can go into his office and make appointments and get ourselves up to date. I don't know if we need that. I think maybe, you know, administrative wise, an ordinance or resolution could be put forth that you have to get some time spent with the city manager, but that.
But
Okay.
remember, you might not have the city manager, you could have that bad one that you were talking about before, that could be your next one, you know, so you don't have Lynn forever, you know?
Right. As chairman, I need to remove the discussion of what we do with the council members. That's not part of the charter. I think you're right. I think we could do that by ordinance at a later time. Something for you guys to think about to bring forward. What we're putting in question is to change the number of council members. And we don't have to say how many right now, but I think what we need to address is that's an item to be looked at, to be discussed.
I mean, really, what are we looking at? Because it's not really that hard to decide, do we really need 5 people or do we really need 7?
Either 7 or, unless nobody wants to go more, right? I mean, there are
No.
places that have
No.
nothing, so, okay, so.
Yeah, and I was the one
I
saying
would be good
7.
with 5.
I'm
I would
fine with
accept
5.
Yeah, so consensus is.
5.
We have a consensus of 5? Who's,
Really?
anybody opposed?
No, I would say 7, but I'll be
I
fine
would
with
say
it.
7.
Yeah. So you
Right
got your-
now, I mean, we have. the
It works
thing is,
now.
We've got a lot of experience that's come to this table with 7 people.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, we've
And
got a
that's-
lot done.
You
We've
guys
got a lot
of
done,
experience.
there's a lot of people with a lot of experience, and it brings things to the table. You may not have that
Yeah.
with 5, I don't know, maybe it's because the city needed so much done.
And plus, it really, at least to me, it doesn't seem like it's detrimental having 7. I mean, you're all working together, it doesn't add.
There's no extra
No,
cost
it's
to
not.
the city
Yeah.
of 5 or 7. What it does do to the city is it gives two more people within the city. Pardon?
That's another problem.
But it gets another two bodies, yeah, that's why I like 7.
I have no problem with 7 or 5, but the idea of 7 gives more of your residents a name to associate with.
Share
And
the
that's a good
workload.
thing.
Yeah, we don't have to, I mean, I know we're plowing through, we don't have to decide this.
No,
This is
Okay.
a major issue, I only have like 2 or 3 major issues, this was one of them, so like, think about it.
So we'll put that down as preamble for
Talk to your
review.
folks and say, yeah.
Okay.
And we've already made the change in eligibility.
I have
So-
one more issue under eligibility. Only persons who have been registered voters in Bel Air Beach. My question is there more value by constraining that to property owners rather than just residents? I mean,
Yeah, because a lot of people are
Let me
snowbirds.
throw a hypothetical out there.
Canadians.
Joe Blow is running a room on 19th Street. He meets all the eligibility requirements. He's 21 years old. He's not aware of the issues with flooding or paying taxes or ad valorem, or he's a social media guy, and he can get on Instagram and he can garner 75% of the vote. So my question is who brings more to the table? Just a registered voter or a person who has a stake in his community?
It says physically resided.
Florida
It says
statute.
remains.
I have an
That's
item
what
in
it
here I
sounds like
wanted
to
to
me.
bring up. I want to change 6 months to 12 months. That eliminates your snowbirds.
Yeah, got a point.
Well,
But
really, I mean, it's only.
the snowbird zone, I mean, they got that vested stake. I like the idea about, look, as a property owner, you have the vested stake. You may not be here all the time, but damn it, you got a property, it's affected by, you know,
if you could
any
do
number
that.
of these things.
But it says you have to remain a permanent resident of the
Change
city
from
during their
60
term
No, no,
of
no.
office.
I don't know if you could
So for
legally
3 years, you'd have to
require
be
them on
here,
property.
not
Yeah.
6 months
As a
later.
That's a
voter?
Fred question.
No, you
You're
can't.
making them like a freeholder at that point where they have to own.
You're
something.
Oh,
violating
the,
the US
So
Constitution.
I mean, the snowbirds, I don't think snowbirds aren't eligible if they're gonna go live up north for 6 months.
But
You shouldn't
remember,
be
this is
registered
for,
here. If you're not a
Right.
resident here, you shouldn't be
this
registered.
is for election guys.
Yeah, this is for election, you're right.
So, but I would change it from 6 to 12 months. That's one thing I think you need to
So
do.
you have to live here a year before
A
you
year.
can run for office. It's not unreasonable.
I agree, 12.
Good with that.
But I mean, to Glenn's point, I don't know that you legally can require, I mean, in the day, there used to be things, back where I came from, called the Board of Chosen Freeholders. You had to be a landholder, you know, and way back when the counties and stuff were built. I don't think you could.
Well, here's our
50s.
registrar of voters sitting right at this end of the table. Patty, can you take that as a action item to see if that's a conflict with the voter laws? Registrar of
Wait,
voter,
what's
right?
a voter?
Whether or not you would have to be a property owner or if you can just be a
You
resident.
can't do that. That's against the United States Constitution.
That's right up there with, you know, the voting ID bills and property owners.
You can't ask a person to own
That's not
property.
voting, that's being a
Being
council
elected.
member.
Yeah, not to vote, this
That's
is
not
to
voting.
This
be,
has nothing to do with voting. You're
no,
talking
this
about
is
Being a
to
council
run for
member.
council, to be eligible to run.
Not just renting a room in Bel Air Beach makes you eligible to be a council member, but being a property owner, so you understand what the issues are, you have a vested stake in the city of Bel Air.
Right.
I don't
Yeah, I don't
think,
know if
I
you
don't
can do
think
it,
you can do it, but I couldn't answer that.
So
Then we have to check
there's
that.
a legal
Okay.
question that needs
Yes,
to.
that has to be checked.
Does a elected official in Bel Air Beach have to own property? Right? That's the question.
To sit on the council. Now, you specifically say that the city manager doesn't have to be a resident.
He's not elected.
Yes, I understand it, but what I'm saying is you're putting terms in other places. My point is, if you want to sit on that council and make decisions that bind on the residents and the budgets and the taxes and user fees and all that, well, then you should be an informed member of this community who has a vested stake in this community, not just somebody running a room.
I love what you're saying, I just don't know what's legal.
So we'll have that as
That's-
the
yeah, I
clerk
mean,
to check the
If
crime
that's
film
legal,
property.
I like it because, you know,
Okay, are we giving that to the city attorney, or is Patty gonna look at that one?
that one might be the city.
I can check with the elections office.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Start with that.
On the second page.
Wow, we're moving along.
Moving right along.
Physically resilient.
Okay, I have some suggestions on this one.
Two point oh two.
Yeah, 2.02. Whenever I ran, I had several people asking about term limits, and I actually am leaning towards that as far as what and how, but I think that there's two ways that I see it. One is concurrent. How many years concurrently can you serve on the council? And the other would be, what's your lifetime years? Because you could duck out for a year and come back and do 20 more years, and you've effectively ran the city.
Well, the mayor of Bel Air Bluffs, I think, is working on 20 years right now as mayor. So
Is that
your
right
point is
though?
very well taken.
Is that appropriate, I guess is his question.
That's-
You know, should he be mayor for 20 years?
A lot of
Is it
cities
legal?
term them out, a lot of cities term them out, and to your point, and I'm not mentioning names, we had people that I know, they've been here, they were here a long time, and it, we have interest right now, and this is, one of the things we're gonna talk about is, do we have to do this for 10 years, or can we maybe do this every 5 years? But if we change that to every 5 years, or if we're able to get the voters to change it every 5 years, if this doesn't work, that's fine, but right now, I call it the bench, but we have a bench, okay? You couldn't get people to run, now all of a sudden, you can't even get on committees right now over here, because everybody's interested in the city. So I think you can term people out after, let's say, 2 terms on council, 2 terms as mayor, that's it. I mean, I said it when I ran, if you can't get what you need to get done in Bel Air Beach in 2 terms, you can't get it done.
And
That's
I
6 years.
understand your concern, but the problem was you couldn't get anybody to run.
Right.
This is the first time we've had as many good qualified people. And I have to honestly tell you, this is the best qualified council we've had in a long time putting everybody together. We've had good people, but not all of them. Some of them just there for name and show, and what do you mean you have an open slot? Okay, put my name in, I'll be there. Patty knows what I'm talking about. But we've got a good council right now, people that are interested. I hope that continues. Now, I think the doctor mentioned that it should continue because of the attitude and the age of the people that we have in the city now. So,
Dave, do you have anything in mind in terms of like 2 terms, 3 terms? I mean, when's too much?
I was thinking about it, that maybe 3 terms
3.
concurrently.
Yeah.
That's
And,
9 years.
And beyond that,
That's plenty.
you're done.
Yeah.
No, you're also personally is like,
I don't know if I could last 9, but yes.
yeah, but you can also say it all, say, I hit the 9, love to help you guys, but look, I'll
Did
volunteer.
we have anybody that's made it that long before us?
I'd say 2 terms, not 3. Because
Well, I was
go
being conservative,
Well,
but honestly, I was hoping for 2.
I would think
2 is what
2.
most other cities have, it's usually 2 of
2
whatever.
sounds reasonable.
because you're talking 6 years.
Yep.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
Now, it's 2 as council, 2 as mayor, so you could conceivably have a person 12 years if you do this, if they went from council to mayor.
I mean, I was on before, it was for 2 years, and I had a good vacation for a while.
Yeah, but 2 terms max.
that's their fate.
Yeah.
Is it just 2, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess is it
that's-
2 overall terms, or is it 2? Because I mean, we should
I would
differentiate.
like to see the lifetime also.
I like that too.
So I would say 2 years in any.
2 terms.
In 2 terms in any,
So it could be 2 terms as mayor, 2 terms as council member.
Right, 1 and 1, however. Mayor's council, I mean, we talk about it differently, and everybody realistically thinks that mayor, and they do, I mean, if Marv and I went to Tallahassee, they're like, oh, the mayor came, we're the same, okay? But the mayor has the thing on it, it's really the same, so if it's a 2-term limit on council, it's a 2-term limit on council, and that will include mayor.
right, and then you could take a break and come back if you
That
want to.
lifetime? you said?
And then on the lifetime, you could come back and say, serve 2 more terms.
I wouldn't, because of our small city and
2
we don't know what's
consecutive.
in the future, I wouldn't put a lifetime. You may want somebody back.
Okay.
So 2 consecutive terms,
In any
Done.
And you
position,
need to take a
Did
break.
you have to take a
Take a
break?
It's a 3-year.
And
break.
usually, when you take a break for 3 years,
even if
you
it's
don't want to.
sabbatical, yeah.
That's fine, I'm good with that.
Okay, so we're 2 terms.
In any
Consecutive.
position.
That's just 2 consecutive terms. It doesn't matter whether you're mayor, vice mayor, councilman.
It's all
Right.
considered
It's-
council.
it's all-
It really
Yes.
is. It's just mayor runs the.
We'll use the term any position, but yeah.
And we'll need the city attorney to draft some of the verbiage for this. Okay. All right, so
And
we're
then the
back,
consensus on that?
Yeah.
Everybody agrees.
all in favor?
Thank you for
Consensus.
suggesting 2 terms.
There goes my lifetime council aspiration.
Right down the crapper, huh?
Compensation of council, sure, I'll
Yes,
vote.
ma'am?
Yeah, is it retroactive?
No,
No. So we're
you
starting-
can't do
Yeah,
it
it
until the
starts from
charter's
the state.
approved. Sorry.
So I'm
And the
saying, once
people-
it's approved though, the people
goes
in the past
forward.
that have run, they come in with a clean slate then? Zero?
Yeah, clock.
The new ones, the new elected from after the charter.
So I'm saying some of the people
What about
in
the
the
people that
past.
serve?
I would say the ones that are on now, you would not count that. It would be
Right.
the first
Next
election
election.
after
The
the
next
charter
one.
passed. That starts the
I think
clock.
that's fair.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All those people.
So you guys get 9
Two
years.
We
more
could actually get
terms.
3 more on top of it.
If you want.
Anybody want that?
It's up to you guys.
Rob?
2.03, I say we compensate these guys, what do you guys say?
You can have a compensation through your ordinance. It doesn't, the ordinance controls the compensation. The only thing
Yeah.
that this thing does, if we were gonna do anything on here, and by the way, I have the stats on that, we're like the, quick little story, I was in emo. Everyone raise your hand who's working for nothing. Me and one other person in a room of 50 people.
Been
Um,
there, yeah.
If we do it though, right now under ordinance, it takes effect like on the second term, so that you can't give yourself a raise, so.
Wait,
This
and
came
what's the
up
next
multiple-
question? Are you crazy? That's what they say.
This came up many times in the past, and I think the best answer I heard was, if you can afford to live in Bel Air Beach, you don't need a salary, you don't need the tax write-off, and you don't need to go to your CPA to explain the income. I would question, I see other cities that get $400, $500, $1,000, for it, and all of a sudden, some of these people live on it. The one thing I told my daughter when she got her salary, I said, for God's sake, don't live on it. Go put it in the bank somewhere. Come back a couple of years later, spend it, do whatever you want. But don't live on it. Don't put it part of your daily, because it's too small, and when it disappears, you've got a loss of income.
Let me say this, I was averaging this summer close to 30 hours a week between meetings, reading, working, compensation, 0. Okay, I'm not looking, and you look at what the other mayors make. Larry Lund, my friend from Treasure Island, jokes, he goes, I work for a big total of 600 a month. I said, I work for nothing. Okay, you get 600 a month though, in Treasure Island. Most of the other mayors, a few hundred a month, mayor may get a little bit more than the next position, council, but you get something. You lose money right now to come here and do this. I
You
mean,
don't get a tax write-off?
No.
You can. Trust me, you can. And you're foolish if you don't.
what's my tax write-off? It's not a
You've got
business.
housing, you've got cars, you've got transportation. There's all sorts of little things you can come up with.
I mean, I'm just saying, it wouldn't, it's more of a show of gratitude of the, I mean, we know some of the hours we put in on here. Glenn comes with some chart that's this thick. I mean, he didn't put that together 10 minutes before the meeting. That was hours and hours of his time that was put into this thing. So I guess the question is I would like to just throw it out there, the whole idea of compensation. Under our ordinance and the way it is right now, none of us will get this anyway. This is actually 2 election cycles down the road, so we're still working for free for the rest of our terms.
Well, it's not a charter issue though, I mean, you deal with it through an
It is.
ordinance,
Charter issue.
right? So-
It is.
Yeah.
It is a charter issue.
Because we could change that thing where it says, we could give raises right now if you took out that line that said, on this charter that
It's
it takes effect at the second.
2.03 compensation of
Yeah.
council.
It takes effect at the
Yeah.
second regular election following the passage of the ordinance.
Um,
So if you took that out, you could conceivably be paid next
My
week.
total vote is against any compensation, because then you're looking to try to lure people to come in for income. And many of us that live in this city, we have substantial incomes. And it's almost insulting to say, how much do you get? I get $600 a month. Why do you need $600 a month? You're not making enough in what you're doing.
We're the only
It just-
city that doesn't
It
pay.
changes the attitude of the position.
The question is, are you guys compensated, I mean, in terms of, look, you gotta put out for gas to Tallahassee, rooms?
The city can pay for it if they ask for it.
Just per diem.
You get
They
my
pay
Oh.
for the mileage.
Yeah.
The
Mileage.
or whatever.
My idea of compensation is actually making this city the way that we see
Here,
that
here.
it should be made in the long run, whenever we're all ready to totally retire.
Cause I was concerned about the
Totally.
direct out-of-pocket costs, that's something you're really.
Then we're in a city that we want to be in, and we've actually helped steer it in the correct direction, so I'm fine with no pay.
And I think it would also, if we started getting paid, especially if we voted for it, I think some residents are gonna take issue with that. And it's gonna look like, yeah, exactly, bad perception.
Bad perception.
Right now, we're like, dude, we're doing this all for free, like back off, you know, kind of thing. But if we're getting paid, even if it's minimal, there's
But let's take a
incentive.
look at the numbers real quick. If you have 7 members, let's say it stays 7, and each of you get $500 a month. Okay, that's $3,500 every month. The city's hurting for money as it is.
Agree.
And that would really torpedo a lot of the future projects that you want to use the money for.
Agree.
I just bought out one of your check flow valves.
Yeah,
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 you're worth
we'll
it. check
name, we'll
flow
name
valve.
the drain after you.
But I get, we
I'm gonna
do
be the
put in
devil's
time.
advocate though, we think ourselves a better city. I don't know if that's right or not, but we think ourselves a better city. The only city that doesn't pay, the only one on this island. Okay, I got the numbers right here. Everybody gets something. And Robin,
Well,
to your
sure,
point, and Glenn, to your
it's
point, we can't give ourselves a raise. This is this goes in with the 2022 election. So when Robin, me, Rita Swope, and Dave are up. That election, those people coming in will be the first recipient of this under the charter. If we don't change the charter, by the way, it's all ordinance, so we don't have to even discuss it in here. But if we ever want to consider this is a council thing where we could start putting it in. We can pass that law now. We're not giving ourselves raises. We're giving 2 councils down the road a raise, which is probably why it's never happened, because no one's ever given the future council a raise. But
LA Shore gets a
Yeah.
salary?
Well, I get that, but I
Looking
don't
at
think
that,
people
really,
are
we don't have
gonna
to
realize
change-
that.
What
We
if,
don't have to change the charter.
what if you
No.
took that
Bel Air Shore didn't.
out of the charter saying you can change it by ordinance and?
No, it's
It is
saying that, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
You don't
we
have
keep
to
it in as
touch
read, if you guys wanna take it up in a council meeting, you can do it.
Yeah, I say leave it so it's an
Leave it.
ordinance.
Just leave it in there. the
There's
way
more
it is.
flexibility this
Yeah.
way.
And then as a council, you guys can, hey, we'll make a motion.
So we're keeping the 2-year, the second election thing.
Correct, 2
the way it
terms
is,
of
so you
max,
can't- yeah, so-
consecutive in any position.
Yep.
No change at 2.03, so 2.04. By the way, what time are we, this meeting at?
About 5.
Oh, okay.
I was
Okay.
throwing it out, whatever.
I have no problem with A under 2.04 mayor.
Yeah.
Anybody have a problem with that?
I agree.
Duties, B,
I like it.
It's fine.
okay. C, absences, vice mayor, Shackus, mayor. I really don't have a problem with that one.
Is this where, I gotta look at this, is there a maximum that you can miss as a city council member?
Yes,
further
it's
down.
further down the charter.
It's further down.
2.06
I
B.
think it's
Okay.
3 or 4 consecutive meetings.
2.06 B.
3
it
in
says.
12 months, it's 3 in a row.
3 out of 12 months.
Yeah. 3 regular council meetings. We
It
may
says
wanna-
4,
Was it 4? Okay.
4 during any 12-month
That's a
period.
lot of miss.
Okay,
But that's not work sessions, that's just
we're now
regular.
at section 2.045, general powers and duties of mayor and
I
city.
have a suggestion on that one. I would like to add most current in front of Robert's Rules of Order, because we're on like revision 17, and if you pulled version 1 out and said, we're gonna follow this, it's a totally different world.
Let me throw something out on that whole idea, and this is coming not from me. I want to bring it because I took this course, and it's a great course, the emo course. Florida League of Cities says be very careful about Robert's Rules of Order. A lot of charters, and maybe our charter shouldn't even have this in, it should be handled by ordinance, and I'll tell you why, okay? Later on in here, you talk about removal. Okay, well, you can remove everybody here, because we don't follow Robert's Rules of Order. we follow a modified version of Robert's Rules of Order. So when you wanna talk in my meeting that I'm chairing, stand up and be recognized and say, Mr. Chairman, I wish to speak. Robert's Rules of Order is designed for Parliament and the House of Representatives and huge bodies. So their recommendation is you might want to pull Robert's Rules of Order out, deal with that in your ordinance, using Robert's Rules of Order as a guide.
That's a guide.
Because like you say, go to any ordinance.
Because it is so formal, I mean, and then you get people splitting hairs, we had somebody come up here, well, Mayor, and I'm gonna talk about this in a second, Mayor, you can't make a motion to call a point of order, well, yeah, I can, okay? That's the way you control a meeting, but it's, Robert's Rules of Order is like 700 pages, it's
Yeah.
crazy, we don't need that for a little city like this, we need order, but I don't know that that may be something we consider pulling out of there. I have no problem if that comes out as long as it's in our ordinance that we use that as our basis. But, and then we run our council, our work sessions in a more informal manner, you know?
So why don't we throw this out to the attorney for review?
How to replace Robert's Rules of Order in this section.
Florida League of Cities could probably help us, because they're the ones that, you know, they're the ones that kind of advocated this, so what's the suggested language to put in there with
Is
small
that
city?
something, Patty, could you?
Just
do-
not make it so prescriptive, just
Exactly.
relax it a little bit,
Well, that's what they were
use it as a
saying.
guideline.
They
Exactly,
were saying, like loosely.
right,
Loosely
because it is
followed.
very formal, it's crazy formal, and we couldn't run a meeting with it if we
No.
really wanted to follow it. But yet, you say that it's grounds for removal if you don't follow this charter, well, okay, then you can remove all of us, because none of us do that, okay?
Okay, so Patty's gonna ask Florida League of Cities what they would recommend to replace Robert's Rules of Order. We have consensus with that?
Yes,
Yes,
No
fine with
decision,
that.
but will give us information. That's a good point, because the biggest problem we have right now with any of these council meetings, they go on forever, because if you have to maintain every little item and go in accordance with
Yeah.
each detail, it
Can't
just
be
gets
effective.
nauseating.
I mean, people don't like it, and we didn't used to do it in the past, but I have to go to the audience, and then I have to come back through council, and everybody has to go through it once, and maybe Marv wants to talk to Dave, but I have to say, hey, come on, you can't cross-talk, and that's all Robert's Rules of Order. We do that in work sessions, we don't have a problem, as long as it doesn't get crazy, but that's what your mayor is supposed to be moderating, is saying, okay, wait, guys, enough, you know, so. I have another issue though here, and it's the last sentence, okay? The mayor shouldn't be any stronger than anyone on council, but they shouldn't be any weaker than council. This is a glaring problem, other cities don't have this, and it says the mayor shall not move a motion. There's no reason a mayor can't move a motion. I have to rely on other people to do this for me, and I can't move a motion, and most other mayors can move motions. So that's something, I don't know why that's in there, because what's
Tell me
even.
what mayors can make a motion, because I've seen Clearwater, I've seen St. Pete, and I've
Different
seen
kind of mayors,
Miller,
it's a different setup.
It's not a strong.
but they're not allowed to make the motion.
They don't even vote.
I think standard procedure for any chair is generally you don't make a motion.
That's what I'm trying to do that
But
here.
yet, if I'm out, Glenn Gunn runs the meeting, he can make it. So this is crazy, okay? I have as many ideas as anybody on this council, and I can't move a motion. Now listen, you don't like my idea, don't second it, it dies, okay? But if we're all equal on council, you're not making this mayor equal.
Can we
This
change
mayor
it?
is the weakest position on
so
council.
we changed it to say, but the chair shall not move or second a motion, and then you could move the chair.
But the whole idea is that you didn't run as a council member, you ran as mayor.
It's the same thing.
No,
He's a presiding officer.
totally. You're a presiding officer, you are the mayor of the city, and you're separated from the council members themselves because you're mayor.
It's not right.
What's
I'm just
that?
telling you, it's not right. And other mayors can make the motion. Other mayors can make motions. Again, we went around the room when I was doing the
They
thing.
can't do it in Bel Air Bluffs, I know that for a fact. But in Clearwater, I don't think
You
they
can't look at Clearwater. You can't look at anyone where they have paid $150,000 a year mayors.
Well, then let's talk about cities our size.
Because that mayor can also have the right to fire people, which this mayor doesn't have. That mayor has a lot of other power that this mayor doesn't have. What powers do I have? Not me, the next mayor. What powers does the next mayor have? To run the meeting? That's not a power. You know, that's a job.
The generally recognized protocol is you ask, the presiding officer asks, do I hear a motion for this?
Correct.
You know, your job is as a presiding officer, he's supposed to be the impartial guy, okay? What are the issues? If you have something, it's, do I hear a motion for this?
And that's what you've been doing. And
And it-
I understand that some of them have not gone forward, but that's,
Well, I'm not mad about ones that don't
Generally
go
the
forward,
role.
but the problem is since we can't talk, okay, you don't even know my motions, okay? So I have to sit here and say, I wanna make a motion for such and such, and what do I get, one sentence to try and convince you? I don't have the opportunity to sit here and say, listen, here's why you wanna do this. There's times I've said to you, listen, somebody please make this motion that I'm asking you to make, and somebody would usually pick up on it.
Here's
But
the
you should be able to
issue,
bring a
though.
motion, Mayor.
This is where, if you've got something that important, then it's gotta be done in a workshop, so that we know.
at least add it to
You
the
know,
agenda, so we know
Add
it's
it to
coming.
the agenda or something like that in a work
Yeah.
session, so we are prefaced on what the thoughts are. Or if it's come up, put it on the next work session. I know it's a delay, it's aggravating, but that's,
As chair, that's one of the freedoms that you give up, otherwise you completely control the direction of the meetings. And I think that's why it's established the way that it is.
I'd like to see us, I don't have this on here, I'd like to see us survey at least what some of the other communities are doing.
As to whether the mayor,
Mayor can make a motion or not. Yeah, and not the big ones, I mean, take St. Pete and Clearwater out
yeah,
of it.
but you only have two cities the same size. One is Bel Air Bluffs
No, you have
and us.
Indian Rocks, Indian Shores, Reddington Beach,
They're about
Reddington
3 times,
Shores.
4 times larger than
I got
us.
it, but I mean, they're the only things we can compare against.
Well, and they
I
can't
think we
be
have-
a strong mayor.
Patty, if I
model
remember
everywhere.
correctly, we had a list of like 6 different cities we would poll that are close to the size of Bel Air Beach.
I have
what they're
that
doing.
breakdown, cause I looked at salaries and stuff. So
Yeah.
there are only like 5 that are within the 1,500, 2,500 range like us. If you
I
look
thought it
at
was 6, but
it.
I think that the 6th one was Bel Air Shore, nobody wants to talk to them.
Sure.
They don't wanna talk to us.
I know that, Mayor. Yes, sir.
As long as you don't walk on the beach, it's all right.
That's
I remember the coffee incident, you weren't here at that time.
I heard about it.
Okay.
coffee, yeah.
Robinson and I used to go drink together, and that was fun, but that's another story.
I have a good relationship with the mayor, Bill, sure, I can speak.
But why don't, can you call those 5 cities, would you have time to do that? And just ask them whether their mayor has the ability to make a motion, am I correct?
Yes, to bring the motion.
Yep, it's simple, yes or no.
We'll come back to this one.
Yes. we'll sort of-
I can give you that list of 5 or 6 cities that are in.
I think the rest of it is fine.
Okay, we're asking 6 cities
Yeah.
for input,
Similar.
If the mayor can bring a motion.
mayor to second, to move or second.
Or even just go to Florida League of Cities and see what they have to say with smaller.
I have no problem with
cities.
Florida League of Cities, they'd be able to tell you all the
Exactly.
cities.
Comparable small cities, again, but I don't want Orlando, because the mayor of Orlando goes in and says, I'm the mayor, you are gone, you're gone, you're gone, we don't
Why don't
have
we
that
stick to
kind of power.
Pinellas County?
Yeah.
I have the list of pure cities, I've
Okay.
already.
All right,
Okay, we're down to, well, we're
section,
still under 2.045, went from mayor, now we're on council. I have no problem with that paragraph.
You're talking B1 and B2, right?
B1, yes, and B2, I have no problem with either of those. Anybody at the table have an issue?
No.
So we're okay with B1, we're okay with B2. Now we're off to section 2.05, council-employee relationships.
No, I'm fine with that. That's
Again,
good
that
shit.
stays in the language as well. I'm good.
Sorry. Okay, so we're okay with 2.05?
Yes.
I'm good.
Great. 2.06, vacancies, forfeiture, filing of vacancies.
Well, the only thing I thought about, again, with forfeitures of office, if you're a consistent code violation. But again,
I have one question here, just to throw this out, where it says removal from office. they refer to it as pursuant to this charter. I don't know what that means. And in general, if you're going to ever look at a removal, I think it should be defined. Don't just say per charter.
This is probably an elections board question about removal. Because I'm sure that there are laws that are right in line with what we're looking at. It may be more of, we strike this completely and put in what the Florida statute is.
Totally agree.
What they may be referring to though is, let's say you're doing a recall, well then a petition has to be circulated for 10% of the population. That's Florida statute, whereas moral turpitude or something like that.
And that's what I'm saying.
pursuant to this
Yeah.
charter.
I'm looking for a definition here, more so than just removal per charter. Does it require a petition? And I think Dave's comment is correct. We need to go to the Florida League of Cities and ask that question.
Or the
What is
elections
the-
office.
How do you, if a removal is ever required, how do you do it?
More so, what determines eligibility for a vacancy? It's not necessarily how do you remove somebody, but what actually,
What is a vacant?
what makes them candidates for removal or something like that, whatever the Florida.
Well, obviously death and resignation.
No, we
Easy.
want the dead guy up there.
Dead people have been voted in before.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Back in '63, that's
Great
how
movie.
Kennedy
It's a
got
moral
elected in
turpitude,
Chicago,
so-
is how many dead people in the cemetery voted.
One of the tenets of construction of charters is you keep them broad. You don't want to get specific.
Exactly. Be very
And if you
broad.
go too specific, you're going to wind up having a problem. You get your specificity in your ordinances.
What I'm asking for in specificity is, don't say pursuant to this charter. Tell me specific to, and give me a number or a reference, whether it's a state charter, state constitution, Florida League of Cities reference.
It does say, it says in any manner authorized by law or forfeiture of office pursuant to this charter, and that's the next paragraph. So forfeiture of office is the next one down, that's the two things. So
Yeah.
basically, they're saying anything under law is the way to get you out. So to your point, recall elections, felonies, death, moving out of the state, moving out of the city, that's all covered in here. So, yeah, I don't think
I don't think it's covered.
Yeah.
And pursuant to the charter, it goes right into the next one, was, well, you miss so many meetings, you're out. Well, that may not be defined by Florida state law.
No.
So that's,
Well, this just happened in Port Richey, okay? You had a mayor that was arrested for cause. Now, that's outside of resignation, moving out of the city, or missing meetings. So if you had a situation of that nature here in the future, what do you do?
An arrest or a conviction, there's a big difference. People get arrested all the time. They're not guilty of
We
anything.
had a mayor in jail here.
Mayor in jail, yeah, I mean, you're arrested is one thing, yeah, you can be arrested
Convicted.
tomorrow. So, convicted is a different story. Convicted of a felony, we deal with that.
Okay, so where is it in here? It says,
It says convicted of a felony,
yeah.
Yeah, where that's that first paragraph
Eligibility
we
for
looked at.
office.
Right,
forfeiture of office.
but if you get,
Involving
I'm sorry, if
felony?
you get convicted of a DUI,
It
you do
does
not
say-
get thrown out of office, you don't. I mean, that you got convicted of it's a quasi crime, if you will, but it's
so
not.
DUI is not a felony.
Homicide is.
But we're having that checked out by the attorney.
That just kills me.
It should
Well,
be.
you wanna pass it
Well,
on?
under eligibility, it says committing a crime involving a felony or moral turpitude. And then anything else is as pursuant to the charter, which is,
And
you miss X number of meetings, You're out.
And it says in here, forfeiture of office, it says is convicted of a felony or fails to attend 4 regular meetings.
Okay, so we have a
So if you
consensus,
murder
this is
someone and you
okay.
get convicted, you're off.
You can make it as strict as you want. I mean, if you go on something that we don't like,
That's your new residence.
you can get a person out for that, but you need to put it in here as to
Okay.
what the rules
Well,
are.
remember, the governor stepped in and removed him as mayor from the city of Port Richey, and he was not convicted. He still hasn't been convicted. I mean, no jury has met and convicted him of a crime. But the governor himself stepped in
And
and,
being a criminal defense attorney, I'm gonna tell you, you're innocent until proven guilty. I mean, you
unless
don't
you're
wanna
president of the United States.
Exactly.
you don't wanna be sitting, exactly, you don't wanna be sitting here going, oh, maybe they got the wrong guy. Maybe their case stinks. I've seen that a few times in my career. I've never met a prosecutor who didn't have a great case until we go to court. It's a whole different story. So, no, I think you need to be convicted. Now, yeah, it stinks to have your mayor under indictment, but we've had some very prominent mayors in the country under indictment.
Yeah, I forgot about him being arrested. Okay, so B is okay,
I didn't read
consensus?
that one, let's just read that.
No, because I have a question about fails to attend 4 regular meetings of the council.
We're gonna change it to 1?
No, I don't think it's 1, but I think 4 is too many. Because
three.
then all of a sudden, that's where you get the snowbirds, and which we think
Yeah.
we've solved with the 12-month thing.
Right.
And/or people who come knowing that they're a road warrior and on the job, they're traveling every week and every month, they're out of pocket, and they know, oh, well, I can miss 4 meetings, but I can still be a council member.
Glenn, I like that idea, but what if, again, I'll be the devil's advocate here, because that's what I do. You got the guy who's abusing it, he's the road warrior, or he just doesn't care, he doesn't come. I mean, there was a person on former council, never came to a work session, that shouldn't be allowed. Then they vote on the motion when you have it for real, that's not right either. But what about somebody who's legitimately sick? What about somebody who really gets sick and is gonna
This guy's
be
chemo.
Then it's time for him to advocate, and,
Okay.
right? Doesn't
No,
it make
I
sense?
just wanna make sure we're, yeah.
If the guy's out for a third of the year, then maybe it's time he needs a replacement.
I missed 1 meeting in 8 years, no, 2, sorry.
And this is the concern about keeping people interested, and keeping the right people in the job, if they can just.
And again, this is regular meetings, not working.
Well,
meetings.
maybe it should, to blow, again, I'm not using names, but to blow off every we don't have this on our current council, okay, everybody makes these meetings. But I've seen that problem, when I was running, never showed up. Never showed up on the work sessions, voted when it came time. It's just wrong. I mean, that is just absolutely wrong. No input to the thing, not understanding the back and forth, but yet I'll vote when it comes here. So maybe we should expand it to say, because now, when they wrote this, there was no such thing as work sessions. Now we have work sessions. I think work sessions are just as important as
So I would
council meetings.
propose that you drop 4 to 3 and include work sessions as well. Regular council sessions and/or work sessions. Regular scheduled council meetings and/or work sessions.
I'd say you keep it 4
And
and
then
the
add
other
the work
piece.
session.
Because if you think about it, let's say you're sick for a month, you're laid up for a month, right, month and a half.
2 weeks.
You just blew it. You just lost it because you got 1, 2, 3. You lost a council meeting, a work session, you lose the next council meeting. In 5 weeks, you could be out.
Yeah. A stomach flu could hit that period,
You may
yeah.
have family members that you have to attend to for one reason
Yeah.
or another, through illness, birth, marriages.
Cancer setting up, I'll get a little bit
Here's
different
another
treatment.
thing, okay, because I know for that one work session, he phoned in. Does that count? Did that count as him being present on the
Yes.
phone?
Should've. If he's on
So
the
from my
phone.
hospital bed, I can call in and still be
Well,
counted?
You
Well,
can't,
you're
you
not-
cannot do it to
No,
constitute a
screens.
quorum.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. You can't use a phone in to constitute a quorum, but
But that meets the
we
purposes
set the
of, they know
precedent
what's
of
going on.
participating in a meeting and also for voting. We've had phone-ins for votes. The only restriction was it didn't count for a quorum.
That's right, because you couldn't start the meeting.
No, you have to put them there. But I think that's also frowned upon. I think Paul Marino told me that it was frowned upon. They don't like the ideas of people not being present. I mean, you could do it in an emergency. I think we need to kick this one around a little bit because there's merit to saying you need to attend all the meetings, not just the ones not just be oh, I'm just gonna come to the council meetings, and your cameras are rolling, no.
Yeah,
you know.
years ago, we had a council member that never went to one budget meeting. Not one.
And then votes on the budget.
Well, my thing too is, I'd like to keep it regular meetings, not the work sessions, because sometimes, like during the finance thing, we had a work section seemed like every single freaking week. I mean, what happens if, someone gets sick or, whatever, vacation and it,
We have to kind of work this one out a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think, there has to be some, you have to come.
But I
You can miss
agree.
a couple, but you can't just blow off all the
Well-
budget thing and then, oh yeah, I vote for the budget.
So this one goes in the parking lot,
Yeah, there you
right?
go.
The parking lot.
Well, that's
This
what I'm
goes in the
saying,
parking
but, cause sometimes it's like, well, that's understandable. We had 4 work sessions, they missed 2 of them, but they missed one for, one regular, one for a vacation. Now, Dave is pissed off at me for something. He's like, oh, well, our charter says 3, let's kick Robin off, sorry, Dave. But, you know what I mean? But there's reasons.
No, you're.
I didn't even hear you vote on that.
I guess there's reasons, and we don't want to get to be
No, let's
court, but there's
further-
reasons, and then
Yeah, let's
there's,
move on.
I'm just not
We'll-
showing up.
Put this in the.
That'll be a further
Sorry,
parking lot.
Everybody cogitate on it a little bit
We
and
have
we'll
to
come
debate
back.
that one.
The reason why I didn't vote on it is because I was waiting on the mayor to make a motion.
Okay.
Save that one up,
Okay, so
Salt
we're
and
referring, basically, we're looking at the possibility of from 4 to 3 as is, or 4 to 3, but include work sessions. This is to be reviewed at a later time. No consensus needed.
I'm gonna add one thing right quick, and
Go ahead.
then we can move on, is that if you include work sessions and reduce the number, you've really changed it.
That's what I said
You've
before,
gone-
yeah,
you've gone
you can lose
beyond
it in a month,
this
yeah.
rule.
We have now.
Yeah.
But we're not making any decisions on this at the moment. Okay, filling of vacancies. Anybody have a problem with that one?
Yeah, I do. About less than a quorum remaining members may by majority vote appoint additional members in conformity with the section, or shall call for the special election. I believe you need the flexibility to put somebody in there for the quorum appoint, but you also must call the special election.
That's expensive.
Yes, very.
There's a
But you're less than
big
quorum.
cost for us an election. The city has to pay for that.
Mhm.
And that's why they have the council making the decision, because it's only for the remaining term of that office.
Right.
Who do you select from though? What's the process?
Oh,
Nominated by
How
the
do we
council
dig
members.
Todd?
Applications to
They-
fill a vacancy, you're saying? Yeah.
it's an RF, request for involvement from the community.
So much like these
Just
commission
like we
boards.
did with
Just
the
like,
commission.
Okay.
you put up your resume, against it, you talk to the council, you talk to the citizens,
Presentation, yes.
and you may have people that support you, or may have people.
No, that's what I was getting to. Yeah, I agree with the process.
But doing a
And the
special
council
election is
votes.
very expensive.
If you
No.
have 7, it's not bad, but if you have 5,
You're in problem. That's why we kept 7.
Okay, so we're gonna keep that.
So the special election only comes into play if you're talking about like your whole council gets removed or
The
something,
bubble
which
goes up.
sometimes can happen, but, we don't have that.
Okay, we've got about 3 minutes left. Section 2.07, city council meetings. I have no problem with A.
No,
No, that's fine.
it's good Monday.
Okay, B, time and place. I don't think you want to move the place.
Can't, actually. You have to meet within your city, so this is the only place.
Put a barge out in the water.
How do what covers work sessions right now? I don't recall. This is regular
our
council
ordinances.
sessions. Is it by resolution that we've done?
It's in our ordinances, the work sessions, how to call them, and, it's in our ordinances.
It's in the ordinances? Okay.
Well, it says
How you
special
call them,
meetings.
yeah.
Oh, it's special meetings.
It's that.
I really don't want to change anything on B.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
They call the budget workshop, is that different than a work session?
Not really, not from what I can see.
Technically?
It is different?
No, it's not different.
I didn't see it as different.
They're all work sessions. I mean,
Just name.
But we have, work sessions are covered in our, and that may be something we wanna look at in the ordinance, cause we've got this crazy thing, like somebody wanted to call a session, but since you can't, actually you can talk to each other and say, I wanna have a work session, just don't get involved with, all the particulars. Problem is, we didn't know what it was all on, but normally it's just been, if we know about it, I can call one unilaterally, so I'll just say, we got it. But if I'm not here, then it gets sticky, because you need like 4 people and it's a mess, so.
Because when I was on council, they called the budget workshop instead of work session.
That's really what I
That's
said.
one of the things.
Okay, so B, we have no problem with time and place.
No,
Quorum, if we're gonna keep 7, you need 4.
we keep the 4, yes.
Yeah.
Request retained, yeah.
Voting on ordinance resolution shall be by roll call and recorded by the city clerk in the official minutes of the meeting.
Retained.
I want to change that.
There's no change with clerk rules or anything like that, Patty?
No.
No, right.
Does it always have to be alphabetical?
Okay.
Yes.
Do we wanna-
I'm dropping the A.
do we want to
Go to
stop at
Z, try that
section
sometime.
2.08?
That's a good.
Well,
It's
maybe.
5 o'clock.
Yep.
Well, under quorum, do you have to circle back once you make a decision on how many council members? I mean, you said a majority constitutes a quorum, but then the next sentence says, no action of the council shall be valid unless adopted by the affirmative vote of at least.
If we
4
change
members.
the number of council, you
That
have to
is-
change
So we need to
this.
circle back
Yeah.
once we.
Actually,
So-
that would get really complicated, because if we went to 6, it would still be 4, and then when it goes to 5, it would be 3. So it would be, because when you get that little, that period between the 2 elections, it would be still 4.
It's a math.
Have-
Or
have
if
a
we keep
majority.
it 7, we don't have to worry about it.
That's another possibility. Just gotta get people to fill the slots.
But that doesn't work if you have 5 people on the council. 4, because
No, it'd be
a
3.
quorum is 3.
Right, then it becomes 3. I'm just saying it's still.
Simple
If you have,
majority.
if it goes 6, you still have 4, it's still 4, you have to have a majority, it can't be split, it's not 3-3, it's 4. I met a mayor who had 6, and they were in this transition period, so I was like, what do you do, and they said, it has to be 4 out of the 6.
Okay,
So let's do a thought experiment here. You've got 7 people in the council. It takes a quorum of 4 to convene a meeting. But that last sentence is saying they can't do anything with affirmative action unless all 4 of them agree to the vote.
Right,
Right, so if it's 3 to 1, it doesn't.
So if there's 5 people, 3 are a quorum, how many does it take to,
3.
3. But if there's 6 people, it's
3 or
4.
2?
Is there watermelons and trucks involved? Yeah. Keeping it
All
simple.
right.
Robin, to your point, though, and I try and do this with the comments, I take even months, I start, just the only way I can remember, even is E, and I start at A, and then odd months I start at the other end. There's no reason you couldn't call the roll backward once, it doesn't have to be alphabetical, does it, unless is that a clerk rule?
You don't
or-
call it alphabetical, you call,
I like Robin going first.
She calls it in order. Yeah, she
I
calls
call it
in order.
alphabet, I do everything alphabetically, just like you're seated alphabetically. Everything I do is alphabetically. It doesn't have to be that way. And then if you wanna change it, just tell me what you want changed and I'll
Well, I
change
mean,
it.
I'm just saying, take, I know, it's not another thing for you to track, but if let's say we have
Order.
4 votes that night, Robin's gonna vote first on the first vote, Rita's gonna vote first on the second vote, Robin's gonna vote, you're gonna be first or last, but
Right.
in the end, it all comes out.
Gotta put you on a random,
I know, I'm gonna change my last name, that's all.
Ping pong ball.
Something with an M.
Yeah, you don't wanna go to.
Miller, call me Robin Miller.
Z. Alright.
okay, so this meeting is now adjourned?